Meeting to order, and I would ask for you to stand, if you can, for O Canada and for a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. In the spirit of peace and friendship, we honor the Nishpik of the Three Fires Confederacy, on whose traditional territory we are gathered. The city of Sarnia has resolved to implement the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of the Indigenous People. Ask Councillor McRoberts if you could move the closed meeting. I report to you that Council provided direction to staff about negotiations regarding the acquisition of land within Development Area 2 and elsewhere in the city. Council provided direction to staff regarding negotiations related to a license agreement at a municipal facility. Council received advice that is subject to solicitor client's privilege regarding a matter before the Ontario Land Tribunal. That's my report back to you. All those in favor? That is done. We have a number of delegations and we have a heavy agenda, so I'm going to move straight to the delegations. First of all, are there any conflicts of interest? Seeing any? Moving forward, Margaret Bird, related to Jackson Pool. If you'd like to come forward, please, Ms. Bird. Would you like to proceed, Mrs. Bird? Ms. Bird?
Bear me 1 second, please. I'm just getting something set up. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council, staff and those attending in chambers and watching from home. I have spent a lot of time reviewing all past published newsprint articles on the history of the Jackson Pool, and broken promises and commitments do not look good in this community. And since my May 15th email to Mayor and Council was totally ignored, this was the only way to keep up with the story and keep Sarnia residents in the loop, which hopefully will lead to an expeditious revival of a plan of action. The Jackson Pool was built to honour the memory of Dr. and Mrs. Jackson and their contributions to the community. The pool was built in Germain Park on East Street and officially dedicated on June 25th, 1966. But something went wrong with the process because the old Jackson Pool was closed in 2016 after a leaking foundation crack was discovered. The city did not repair the Jackson Pool because the facility was in poor condition, considered a significant liability and unsafe. How on earth did it get to be in this state if a comprehensive asset plan had been in place? This facility was sadly demolished and filled in, just like that, in 2022, followed by a citywide splash pad mania that was implemented immediately. There wasn't a 9-year hold-up on that. Splash pads do not teach you to swim, and they do not save lives. The ability to swim is a safety-first necessity in life. After 50 years of wonderful usage of the Jackson Pool, so many children and their families really appreciated this. It was a hard knock to them all, who very much appreciated why this pool had been built. In October 2017, a citizens group presented a 2,000 signature petition to Council for a new Jackson Pool. And in 2021, 4 years later, the city was approved for provincial and federal funding, totaling $1.4 million, to build a new pool, with the city contributing additional funds as long as they made a decision to proceed by August 2024, according to a published email from senior staff. But they didn't go ahead, and the public was left thinking that date had come and gone and that the opportunity had been missed. But apparently that isn't so, because recent email feedback from senior staff in May this year has confirmed that the government's $1.4 million funding is still available until March 31st, 2027. There were also many other pledged amounts to go with the government grants too. And additionally, according to the citizens group, various businesses and industries were more than willing to contribute towards the construction costs as well as the ongoing maintenance costs. On July 17th, 2021, a bold heading appeared in the journal that read, "Jackson Pool is back on agenda." But why again was the green light not followed? So we knew that the government grant was available and members of the community had pledged donations along with businesses and industries who wished to help the city to finally realise this project. But still nothing moved forward. And it is now 4 years since notice of the government funding came through. And I'd like to just add here that Chatham-Kent has 9 pools, 2 indoor and 7 outside. And of course, in the paper this weekend, $2 million is going to be added to the funding for the Moortown pool. So everybody is recognising the importance of this kind of a community hub. It is very clear from the online survey that city staff prefers the splash pad or gathering place concept, despite what the majority of ratepayers are saying, said Daniel Harding, who helped organise the petition. In the April 2023 issue of First Monday, a member of the public was quoted in an article criticising senior staff for failing to follow council policies and direction regarding Germain Park and its $100,000 master plan, which included a new outdoor pool to be built. The writer chastised a senior staff person for doing what he wanted by directing Monteith Brown of London to exclude a swimming pool in its studies. The writer also goes on to note that senior staff bury unwanted feedback from the public. 9 years have passed since the Jackson Pool was closed. 8 years have passed since the Community Advocate Group was formed and collected 2,000 signatures in support of the new pool, along with strong pledges of sponsorship. And 4 years have passed since notice was received of the successful grant application from the provincial and federal governments for a total of $1.4 million, which we now know is still available until March 31st, 2027. One of the community advocates wanted to see how prices in 2025 compared to the out-of-city preliminary estimate that senior staff received in 2023, totaling $5 to $6 million for the pool and all the necessary outbuildings. They approached a local Sarnia business for that comparison, and miraculously, not only is their price still the same in 2025 as the city's 2023 price, but they do not stop construction during the winter months. So this is definitely something very beneficial to be considered, as it most importantly keeps the work in our community, something we're all supposed to be observing these days. Safety first should be the prime consideration here. We are surrounded by so much water and people love to take part in water sports on the lake and the river, but the emphasis has never been placed on being able to swim first. Ask a fireman any day how many people they have to rescue out on the water. People who cannot swim, who do not wear their life jackets and putting others' lives at risk to save them. A motion was presented to Council in 2022 to offer free lessons to all non-swimmers at the open air pools for 1 year. It was discussed at length by Council, but no follow-up by staff. So once again, nothing was put in place in the name of safety first, and it's now 3 long years since that was discussed and buried. Every January comes around and I wonder, will this be the year that the Jackson Pool is rebuilt and all our young children have the greatest opportunity to learn to swim and keep safe on our waters during their long summer vacation? This is a great opportunity for the city, members of the public, businesses and industries to all work together to finally bring this wonderful and much needed capital project to fruition. We have just under 2 years to complete this work before the funding deadline of March 2027. Don't let another 9 years go past, or even 1 year. Let's all please combine our efforts to put a plan into place immediately. No more delays, and for the sake of all our precious children and safety first, make this happen this year. Ironically, this week is the National Drowning Prevention Week. How timely my presentation is. So today, in closing, I'm asking all previous prospective donors and pledgers to kindly come forward once again to confirm with the city your fantastic intentions to partner with them on immediate action for this urgently needed Jackson swimming pool replacement, and for Council to support this motion at today's July 21st meeting. Thank you, and if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you for your presentation. Councillor White.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Bird. I think you and I have remained aligned on this over the years, so I appreciate you bringing it back to us. Can you just remind me exactly what your specific motion is that you're requesting here?
We're asking for support for all the original pledges, and people that wanted to donate can come forward, and we can reliven this project with the 2,000 signatures from 2017. And because we have the money, the 1.4 million, and I'm sure more than enough can be raised by what people had pledged before. So we're just asking for your support in approaching all those original sponsors and pledgers again to get this off the ground. And as this one company here said, that they will work through the winter, so this could be ready for next year. We don't want to wait another 9 years at all. This is terrible, and other communities are doing it.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Bradley, what would that look like in terms of a motion? Just reaffirming our support for it, or first off, I certainly would ask the CAO to comment on our timelines with the master plan and whether or not we could bump that up.
Through your worship to members of council, phase 1 improvements were approved by council to move forward this year. This fall, you'll see a new accessible playground be installed and the new dog park. Next spring, we are anticipating moving ahead with the splash pad, the sport courts, and all the interconnecting walkways. The pool remains at a cost of estimated cost between 5 and 7 million, depending on final amenities and those things that go with it. The grant can certainly be reallocated and shared between a splash pad and a pool. The grant was allowed for both uses when it was applied for in 2019. And we, at this point in time, it just remains a conceptual plan, but if council would like, we can move ahead with detailed design, but it will require a funding envelope of more than likely between 5 and 6 million.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to move forward with, if I may, at this time, make a motion to include the design work in the in next year's budget.
Seconder for that, Councillor Gillis. Can I ask how much that costs?
For your worship, members of council, we would need to get a proper quote. We'd be happy to return back perhaps in September if that's okay, but we could certainly narrow it down to detailed design work if that's helpful.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. Councillor Bushy? Yeah, okay, it's been seconded. Thank you.
Your worship and gentlemen, I think I made about 3-4 motions when we were trying to see if we can get it, or the people were willing to go ahead and spend that good money. I wasn't successful, really. By all the motions I made, all the attempt I made, it didn't work. I just want to let you know.
Thank you. Councillor Burr, thank you very much for your presentation. We're now in debate, so.
Mayor Bradley, may I have something here for you, the clerk, and for Ms. Forfar, and has all the details and also the quote that the member of the public got for your consideration.
Sure, if you would leave that with the clerk later. And I do have a motion on the floor right now, Council, and I ask the clerk to read it back to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The motion on the floor is that Sarnia City Council include design work in next year's budget for the Jackson Pool.
It's been moved and seconded. Those in favor? That is passed. I'm sorry.
Can I just seek some clarification? I did have my hand up beforehand, Your Worship. I wanted to know if who can confirm that that end date of that grant is 2027? Because if that is the case, then if we go into 2026, we'll be utilizing some of that monies. And therefore, I don't know if we could probably reapply for other funding, who knows? You never know. But I just want to confirm that that money is sitting in some sort of reserve, and they will take it back if we don't use it.
Through your worship to members of council, any additional detail can certainly be brought forward by the city treasurer. It's our understanding there's approximately 1.4 million sitting in reserve. It can be shared between the splash pad and the pool. We are anticipating pulling some of that funding to support the splash pad costs going into 2026. However, we anticipate there will still be around 1.1 to 1.2 in there, and the rest of it would need to be topped up by capital to actually support the project.
This motion, though, if it passes, will bring that back in September for council to choose a path, if my understanding is correct.
For sure.
Okay.
And the ISIP grant, we can absolutely apply for an extension on it.
Thank you. I did call the question. It did pass. So thank you very much, Ms. Bird, for your presentation. Mr. Dickieson, would you like to come forward, please? Okay. Mr. Dickieson, Andrew, if you can bring on Mr. Dickieson.
I believe he's joined online. He's just joining as a panelist now.
Hello, Mayor Bradley and Sarnia City Council. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead, Mr. Dickieson.
Thank you. So thank you for taking the time and allowing me to delegate to this very important safety issue about London Road. I'm trying something different today. So after the presentation is concluded, I would ask the moderator to flip it back to me, because I'm currently sitting here at the intersection of London and Brock Street, because realistically, I cannot take council to the corpus delicti here, but I can virtually bring London Road to you. So we can ask, the council can ask any questions, and I can show something, walk around and bring it live. And as we speak, I had the second red light runner since council started at 1 p.m. But let's go into the presentation. So next slide, please. Okay, so this is London Road, and that's the view from Christina Street, eastbound. And I would like to ask each and every decision maker, what do you see when you look at this? Is this okay? Is this normal? Is that desirable? I was just wondering. I keep this question, and if you choose, we can have a discussion later in the Q&A. I can give you my input later, but let's go to the next slide. So this is daily reality for me and my neighbors who are walking to school. We have currently 4 kids that attend London Public School. It's an elementary school, and we walk essentially with 2 adults and 4 children, and plus and minus a dog. And the sidewalk is super tight. And as you see, just one little step to the left or to the right, there's live traffic. And that traffic is supposed to go with 50 kilometers per hour, but in reality, they go 70 kilometers per hour. Next slide, please. So I have young kids, and they would like to scooter over to school. And as a parent, you give in sometimes. And then after you question yourself, was this the right decision to do? On the left, my son scootered there. And After that's like, nah, we're not doing that again, because if something happens, because the sidewalks are uneven, there's a bump and it falls towards the left, there is that live traffic. And as you know, I presented before, kinetic energy, there's no chance of survival for a child at the speeds and the weight of modern vehicles. And then some peculiar happens in the winter. It's on the right, the picture, that in the winter is actually safer, because with the snow clearing and what happens over time, you have a wall. And also that little wall of snow is not on a sidewalk, it's on the road, and traffic just flows freely when about a third, a quarter of the lane is taken away. There's no issue. You feel safer walking there. However, as you saw in the previous picture, my neighbor, the mother is pushing a stroller, and it's just horrific, because the configuration is the following, that the London Road, arterial road is cleared every hour, and the sidewalks are cleared every 24 hours. So in the ideal case, you have about 59 minutes of a cleared sidewalk until the road's not being dumped on it. It's a design flaw, but I want to point it out that when we do something of improvement on London Road, please consider that where does the snow go, and please do not dump it on the sidewalk, especially that's the north facing one. Sorry, it's a south facing one, meaning there's no sunshine there, meaning the ice and snow persist there for long times. Next slide, please. So now you ask, Robert, what do you want? You're talking about this now for 6 years. I want that reduced lanes and use the land for something other than driving lanes. And this is a historic picture prior 1973, when London Road was 1 lane each. And I know back in the days, it was a bottleneck. I know there was a huge demand there. I understand that one of the councillors currently in council, David Bushy, was at the time sitting and maybe remembers these conversations, but we widened it ultimately. There was a huge fight with property owners, and land was expropriated to widen London Road. But look at that again, I think that's more desirable. And when we talk about the free flow of traffic, we have to understand 1 more lane will not fix the traffic. What we need is intersection capacities. And luckily we have intersection capacity, oozles of it. We have the left turn lane, we have the straight lane, we have the right turn lane. We could even consider roundabouts, but this is all in the hands of the engineers to do it. But look at that. This is so much better. It's so much more pleasant. And if we use the land that the city owns, respectively the county, because I know it's a weird back and forth in county and the city there, but we use the publicly owned land and redistribute it between the automobile, pedestrians, and bicyclists, and maybe even put a boulevard and plant some trees, it would be so much better. Next slide, please. And now we're back. What the current thing is. Lots of asphalt, a lot of concrete, not very nice for anyone outside of the automobile. Of course, if you just drive through here, you don't care. You don't feel that this is bad. It's actually great. More lanes, faster, zip through there, don't be bothered by it. Shave off about 5 seconds of your daily commute. But ultimately, lives are at risks. And if a crash happens like at the end of June, Justina and London, this is not an accident. It was not unexpected. If something happens here, it's not expected, because I keep on talking about 6 years about this now. All right, thank you. If I could end the presentation and get the camera back to me. All right. I'm not sure if I can flip myself here. I can do here. So as I said, I sat here now for 20 minutes and had 2 red light runners. And that's where it started 6 years ago. And for 6 years ago, I don't see much improvement. So I tried everything, personally pleading to it. I had some supporters, and also this time I got the school board on board with a school board sanctioned petition, SEC, and have the results there. I see it every day, as I see it today. Am I please really do something and stop the inertia and jump into actions? do something that the city and the county can do collaboratively, as done on Indian and Errol. I know it's possible. We do not have to reinvent the wheel, but it's up to you, decision makers, council, and the engineer to say, yep, let's try it out. Let's take some temporary measurements, take some paint, and jump into actions. I will pause now, and if anyone wants me to walk in any direction here or here, let me know. I can give you a live view what it is to be on London Road at this moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from council? Thanks, Mr. Dickieson. And I'll turn to our engineer. Any comments on this presentation and county and city and this project in the future?
Through member to council, so the county has short-term plans to resurface London Road in that area. We are working with them to make traffic safety improvements as part of that project. We plan to have a public consultation session this fall, and their project is likely happening either next year or the year after that. So we're working on some permanent upgrades. We have no plan for temporary upgrades unless council directs that.
Councillor Vandenberg.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was just in the Netherlands. I just got back. And if you want to see traffic calming, you go to the Netherlands. And one of the things that I just looked at this video with Mr. Dickieson, that I just pointed out to my friend Councillor White, that the vehicle that stopped at the intersection crossed over the crosswalk. So it was almost in the intersection. So that's an issue. But one of the things I noticed in the Netherlands is that every major intersection has a bump up. So you slow down. And I've walked many times with Mr. Dickieson through that area over the last couple of years, going back and forth. It's an area that was designed back in the late 60s to handle all the traffic from the Chemical Valley, which now is a lot less. I think we have to move expeditiously on this. Just looking at that picture of the kids walking on the sidewalk covered in snow adjacent to that road is not right. So I'm just wondering if we could, I know it's a county road, isn't it, Mr. Jackson? If we get the county to start moving on this a little quicker and, before there's a tragedy on this.
That would be a resolution that would be in order to ask the county if they can accelerate their spending. I've seen that happen at county council.
Can I make that motion then? And
yeah. Seconded, Councillor Kellner. And Councillor Kellner, you wanted to speak?
Yeah, sorry, thanks, Your Worship. My question was really going to be through you to Mr. Jackson, just about exactly how we work with the county to enact some of these. Like, what does that look like for us, and the public?
If the resolution passes, I think that would start that whole process with the county, and then, as you heard, there's a public consultation meeting in the fall, and I'm sure we can work that in together. Councillor White, Councillor Gillis.
Thank you. I would just ask that in that conversation with the county that we consider temporary measures to implement as soon as September, to be honest with you, even if it's paint. There's some pretty remarkable designs that can be accomplished with paint that can visually create that barrier. And I know, like yourself, Mayor, and several others, we've had this conversation with county engineer over the last couple of years, and it's not that it's behind schedule, it's just that it's excruciatingly slow when you consider the weight of the consequences of any further delay. So I would just hope that in the interim we can ask for short-term temporary solutions that can be implemented as soon as possible.
Thank you. The motion's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Can I talk, please?
Go ahead.
Mayor Bradley. Hello. I think this is a real knee-jerk reaction. There's a number of factors you got to take into consideration. What they're talking about is actually making London Road less wide. Is that what am I of the right understanding, sir? Am I with you on that? Is that the motion? or part of the motion? Am I misunderstood?
The motion was simply to ask the county to look at accelerating this project and to start the consultation process, which the city's going to do.
And what exactly is the project, sir?
Beg pardon?
And what exactly is the project, sir?
It's in your package there. Dickison's
Sir,
presentation.
people are saying that we should make our streets smaller because the valley isn't as big as it once was. Mr. Dickieson is concerned about safety at the London Road School. There's a good chance, sir, that that school may be closed down in the near future. The kids in that area, the number of students that go to that school is dwindling every year. People are moving out of that area, and we're going to be debating about why some of these students and families are moving out of that area later today. The thing is Sarnia, my vision of Sarnia is growing, is going to be growing the city of Sarnia, not surrendering the city and making it continually stagnant. It's like we're throwing in the towel and just acknowledging that the city is stagnating and making it smaller and all this kind of stuff. There's a lot of citizens that don't want our city to become Europe. When we changed Indian Road the way that we did under Mr. Dickison's recommendations, a lot of citizens detest the way that what we've done to Indian Road, and that roundabout on the corner of Cathcart and Indian is way too small. And people know that. I've had oodles of people come to me and say, what a complete screw up you guys did with Indian Road. So this to me is just a knee-jerk reaction when a citizen comes on and complains about what's going on. Mr. Dickieson has come up with some great ideas. Don't get me wrong, and he's a very engaged citizen, and we need more like him. But I think this is just a knee-jerk reaction, and I think we really should think much farther before we give this the attention it needs. I think we should talk to a lot more citizens than just one on this one. I really do.
I'll remind council the motion is to make a number of improvements, short-term and long-term, and have public consultation working with the county whose road it is. That's my understanding of the motion. So, Councillor Gillison, I'm going to call the question.
Thank you, Your Worship. I did have my hand up, and I appreciate you acknowledging that. I just wanted to go back again to Mr. Jackson. So can you please describe exactly what's going to be happening this fall? Because this particular reconstruction of London Road was supposed to happen in the last 4 years, and we're running out of time here, so I don't want to see this postponed again. So can you reiterate what exactly you're looking at to do on London Road?
Through the Mayor to Council, so the county is looking to repave the asphalt. We became aware of that, and we are aware of the traffic safety concerns, so we asked to work with them on part of that, as part of that project, to make traffic safety improvements. And so the public consultation this fall would look at some options for that, potentially reducing the number of lanes or other things like that to improve traffic safety.
So coming back to what Councillor White was saying, the temporary improvements are the ones that you were already thinking of prior to having this discussion with us, correct?
Those types of improvements. So we were not looking at doing temporary ones at this time.
Okay, so now you are.
We can, yes, if Council would like.
Thank you very much.
Let me call the questions. Councillor Burrell.
Thank you, Worship. Yes, I would appreciate knowing what we're doing before instead of just giving a blank check kind of thing. And I would like to know what the county has to approve and what we have to approve. And I just, all of a sudden, this is just kind of springing on us without us having any real input other than we're maybe going to do something and maybe the county's going to do something. I would like a better report on what could or should happen before we actually go ahead.
Well, that's up to council. I have a motion on the floor. It's been moved and seconded. So I'm going to call the question unless I get other directions.
Well, can I have the motion read back then, please? Because I was not clear.
Thank you. The motion on the floor is that Sarnia City Council ask the county to accelerate this project and start the consultation process.
Let me call the question. Those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
No, I didn't vote for it.
I'm sorry.
It wasn't unanimous. It wasn't unanimous.
We'll note your ongoing objections to motions. That's
yeah,
recorded.
dumb motions.
I'm only going to warn you once today, Councillor, about respect for your colleagues, only once, and that was it.
Okay.
So let's move on. Now, we have a number of delegations speaking to a motion that hasn't been moved or seconded and doesn't exist at this point, so it's a bit tricky. The other thing, this is related to 333 George Street. The other thing I'd point out to you, there is no application here at this time on that property. Secondly, that there's legal advice being given to council that any motion to deny anyone is against the Municipal Act and also will conflict with a number of laws in this province. So I just say that to you, knowing that we have some presentations coming forward, but the Building Code, the Planning Act, and Municipal Act all say that any of the type of motion that discriminates against people, and actually in some ways removes the public process, is not right or is not legal. So with that, I'm going to start with the delegations. I've got Mr. Trepanier coming forward. Sir, if you could just state your name and your background so we have that for the record.
Thank you, Mayor Bradley and City Council, for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Donna Trepanier. My wife and I have recently made Sarnia our home. We represent a charity in Sarnia called the Grace Cafe and an associated program called the Annex. We are piloting our project at 184 Davis Street, in which we operate a soup kitchen and work to assist people to access addictions treatment programs. St. Thomas is the home base of this charity, and we have been doing so now for 11 years and counting. We are very well acquainted with Indwell and have been frontline observers to their impact to the community in St. Thomas, since we are located just 2 blocks from their newest facility, the Station House on Queen Street. Our location in the downtown core on the main street called Talbot Street has given us a unique perspective there. Today, I wish to speak to the amended motion submitted by Councillor Dennis, which reads as follows: that the City of Sarnia shall not grant any variance, zoning, or other municipal approvals, minor or otherwise, sought by Indwell for the George Street project in order to protect the neighborhood from further negative impacts due to supportive housing in their community. I will make 3 brief points in support of the George Street location. The first point I wish to make is that any supportive housing for Indwell must be located near the downtown core, within short walking distance. The majority of clients in Indwell's first supportive housing project will absolutely need daily access to services that tend to be clustered in the downtown core. Services include methadone clinics, Ontario Works program, probation offices, CMHA and other mental health services, First Nations support organizations, and peer support groups, just to name a few. As well, Indwell residents will need and want access to their substances and will require proximity to their supply. That's the reality of the situation. Locating a facility outside of a 1 kilometer radius will challenge the success of this project, and it will become less effective with residents electing to leave the facility and to return to becoming unhoused. Supportive housing projects that take this into consideration are successful for this reason alone. The second point I wish to make is that quite understandably, not everyone in this population is at the same level of their substance use or regulation of their mental health. Indwell will be housing the top of the by names list, who by definition will be those with the highest acuity score. Fortunately, with this support, those struggling with substances and mental health issues will stabilize, heal, and move towards abstinence within the facility. Indwell's supportive model ensures that any substance use by their residents will occur within the facility instead of in the back alleys, side streets, and porticos of our businesses. The net effect of this model will ensure a decrease in substance use overall, a decrease in overdoses, and a decrease in the visibility of the harms of addiction within the community and the neighborhood. As well, there will be a decrease in police service engagements, emergency visits, and other costly impacts of an uncontrolled substance use. We are all familiar with the neighborhood impacts of our sheltering facilities, and I am here to tell you, based on our experience before and after the start of the St. Thomas Station House, that there will be little to no negative impacts on the immediate neighborhood of the George Street vicinity.
There'll be one warning: respect for the speakers. And I expect the same from the speakers to the audience. So please let the gentleman continue.
Thank you, Mayor. Quite the contrary, the residents of an Indwell facility will have much less impact in the public sphere as compared to their being unhoused, compared to those who will continue to access the sheltering system or are unhoused. For this reason, the River City Vineyard facility has, and the future HART Hub projects will have, much less negative impact than to their respective neighborhoods as compared to our sheltering facilities. The motion, as stated, implies a danger to the community and to the neighborhood that is not evidenced in the St. Thomas example, but rather based on treating everyone in this population with the same brush. Third and last point I wish to make: in any decision or program contemplated by the City of Sarnia is that we need to adopt a trauma-informed perspective. Trauma-informed will be familiar to those in the social service community. But for those not familiar with this phrase, it is defined as an approach or perspective that recognizes that individuals in care have experienced significant trauma. A trauma-informed perspective should be adopted by all caregivers, systems, and organizations, including council. The principle guides all to work towards providing safety, trust, collaboration, and compassion in order to avoid re-traumatizing individuals. This approach best empowers all of us to health. I wish to say that the motion, as stated, works against a trauma-informed principle, continuing to exacerbate the stigma and prejudice of our society. I implore the city to keep in mind that the marginalized in our community are our citizens and our constituents who don't have a voice. So in closing, the George Street proposal should be considered in light of a multi-facility approach to addressing homelessness, mental health, and addiction issues. These facilities will require our best efforts to join forces and dig deep within our hearts to bring hope to those who live without hope. We have not yet done our part. Therefore, I urge this council to vote against the stated motion or any motion that would jeopardize our already besieged friends. Instead, I urge council to fully endorse Indwell in their delivery of their program to the benefit of our marginalized people and to the thank you, Mayor and Council, for your valuable time.
The next speaker I have is Natasha Thurmere from Indwell, if she'd like to come forward.
Your Worship, just a point of order. You have jumped ahead and dismissed, basically, Delegation 4 and Delegation 5.
Did that on the basis that they will be at the end of these delegations.
Okay, thank you.
Wanted to get them all concentrated and focused right now.
All right, thank you.
Just do a little bit of a mic test here. Everyone can hear okay? Dear Mayor and Sarnia Council members, as many of you know already, Indwell is the registered charity providing affordable, supportive housing to individuals seeking health, wellness, and belonging. We are located across 7 municipalities, supporting over 1,300 individuals. Our values are rooted in dignity, love, and hope. Lambton County is our 8th region, made possible through the county's commitment to supportive and affordable housing as a solution to homelessness and the donation of the George Street property. At the beginning of June, the donation of the George Street property was made public through your county council meeting. Prior to this, decisions around the development of this location occurred in closed session based on the county council bylaws. Indwell has been asked why there has not been public engagement prior to the project being announced. As you are aware, when a property is not zoned according to planned use, public consultation is required. This wasn't necessary as the George Street property is already appropriately zoned for multi-residential. Additionally, Indwell could not speak about the county council's donation of the property to Indwell until after the decision was made public. Following council's decision, Indwell hosted a neighborhood drop-in and is doing considerable community engagement to bring about awareness and seek feedback. Prior to the county council meeting, Indwell engaged with the city of Sarnia and Lambton County through the following means, and by no means is this list exhaustive, but we've engaged with social and health partners, understanding the scope of need and the services already available within the county. We've spoke with county staff who oversee housing and homelessness to fully understand the depth of need within the community. We have offered 2 public engagement sessions and hosted 3 viewings of a documentary which shares more about Indwell, the services we offer, and our commitment to quality property management and health and housing services. We hosted a neighborhood drop-in session to share more about Indwell and hear from the George Street residents. Since the announcement, we have spent hours responding to questions brought forward directly and indirectly, have given and offered tours to come see our Indwell programs, as well as met one-on-one with individuals. We have offered recommendations to contact local police services, to speak with mayors and councillors and representatives from other regions in which Indwell operates to learn more about us. Again, none of this is required, but as an organization, we do value community and neighborliness, so have prioritized these efforts here. This is what it means for us to live out our values. As of July 1st, the County of Lambton has reported 295 individuals on the by name list. 207 of those individuals are considered chronically homeless, and 90% of those individuals are reported to be from the city of Sarnia. We know the longer that someone experiences homelessness, the more complex their needs become. The solution to homelessness for these 300 individuals is the development of housing. We also know that not just any housing works, or communities such as yourselves wouldn't be in the situations that we're in. To create sustainable change, individuals need access to the right housing with the right services at the right time. When having such access, we see housing stability rates of 92% for individuals coming out of homelessness. We see significant drops in ER usage, and we see police chiefs openly sharing data such as a 66 reduction in calls to the downtown core for unwanted guests. Supportive housing not only transforms lives, it transforms communities. Indwell's credibility is recognized nationwide. We've been consultants to upper levels of government because they know our model is making significant and permanent change for individuals and communities in which we are located. Today, there are 2 motions put forward. And you've had those access to those and recently just read. So to that, I would highlight that requests by Indwell or other related municipal approvals for this property or other properties within Sarnia should be based on requests for actual approvals. Indwell has not made any yet. They should not be blanket denials for any future approvals or permits, especially without reference to the purpose or content for that request. George Street is appropriately zoned and intended to be used for affordable housing. Under the Ontario Planning Act, city councils do not consider requests for minor variances. Instead, these are considered by committees of adjustment, with any appeals being considered by the Ontario Land Tribunal. Indwell will, as we have with all of our projects, work through these formal procedures as required. Land use planning is intended to regulate the use of the land and not to address the selection of tenants and services provided by the housing provider. Again, despite there being no obligation for Indwell to share how its tenants are selected, we have been completely transparent. Part of the selection process is that individuals must also choose to seek housing and desire support services from us. They must be actively looking to improve their current statuses, understanding the need and benefit of supports and services that we provide. Additionally, Indwell is not aware of any credible research that supports the allegations of supportive housing negatively impacting neighborhoods and the communities in which they are located. Research has, however, credibly demonstrated that supportive housing makes a positive impact on reducing chronic homelessness within a community. The second motion put forward today is that the Sarnia Planning postpone any further action with respect to George Street Indwell project until there has been full public consultation with all neighbors, stakeholders, and other interested persons, but this should not include Speak Up Sarnia. To that, I would highlight the following: that the motion does not adhere to the Municipal Act, as the Mayor has already suggested. This motion is suggestive that public engagement has not taken place. In my opening, I highlighted the several ways in which we have engaged with the community and that our building does not, the zoning of the building does not obligate us to do that. I have a list of items that we were received at the neighborhood drop-in that we will be taking into consideration. The motion is also suggestive that community members are required to shape the program being considered. And with all respect, Indwell is an expert in supportive housing, and I have highlighted some of the many ways, such as years of experience and guiding upper levels of government, in which we have exemplified this. I was recently at an event hosted by homelessness expert Ian DeYoung, and there he simplified that if a bridge was to be built, we would not undermine the engineer's advice on how to do that. Yet when it comes to solutions for homelessness, we don't offer the same credibility to experts that are creating those solutions. I'm requesting a few things from council today, and I know that they are big asks, especially if you've not seen our work. Firstly, it is to trust us. Indwell has a very long track record. As noted previously, we currently have 29 programs in 7 regions housing over 1,300 residents. Indwell is a trusted healthcare provider and partner by the Ministry of Health and major tertiary hospitals such as St. Joe's Healthcare System in London and in Hamilton. And we have many partnerships with local agencies. This speaks volumes to our ability to be a good partner and the effectiveness of our approach. I've been with the organization for 15 years, and during the last 6, I have personally been part of launching 5 projects, all serving individuals with complex needs and having experiences of chronic homelessness. These projects are demonstrating such success that municipal leaders in each of these communities are seeking ways to bring more projects forward within them. The result is 4 projects currently under development, all opening within the next 2 years, and others in pre-development stages. If Indwell did not do their work well, further project development requests would not be brought forward to us. Not a week goes by that Indwell is not asked to consider expanding to a new community or consulted on homelessness solutions. Secondly, this is a complex issue. I understand the reservations of neighbors, but I promise you the situation will only get worse if you don't start saying yes to solutions. The fear of change and unknown can paralyze us to remain in the status quo. As council members, I'm requesting you not to make decisions based on those who are most boisterous, but out of the ethical and moral right of providing real solutions and hope for those who are most marginalized and the future of Sarnia and Lambton County. Just as we have demonstrated, Indwell will continue its commitment to leading the project and the others needed in Sarnia with its values at the forefront for everybody. Thirdly, Indwell has been and is committed to public engagement. Planning and development policies and procedures have bound us to certain processes, but we demonstrated through the neighborhood drop-in, the moment we were able to seek engagement, we did, and we did so thoughtfully. We brought many Indwell staff to create opportunity for as many one-on-one conversations as possible. We have sent countless emails and engaged in dozens of conversations, which I hope have been received as recognition of our willingness to remain open and transparent. The door will remain open for Indwell to hear feedback from neighbors near George Street, but today we request no blanket motion that seeks to deny opportunities to move forward expeditiously and urgently on the much needed supportive housing for the 300 unhoused individuals in our neighborhood.
Thank you. Councillor White had a question for you.
Thank you. A couple of things just very briefly. First off, I want to say thank you for coming. I know it wasn't an easy way in, but given the motions, you were able to find your way into delegation status, so thank you for taking the time to do that. We've met a number of times now over the last several years. Didn't know who you were before, and through my work at the county, got to know your organization, your team, and have had the privilege over the last couple of years to visit several sites, most recently a couple of weeks ago. Now that was brought about, I was specifically traveling to both St. Thomas and Hamilton to meet with the political leadership regarding your sites. The fact that we saw your sites that day was a secondary benefit, I suppose. My goal in setting up the meetings with Mayor Joe Preston and Ward 2 Councillor from Hamilton, Kretsch, was to simply gain feedback politically to understand what their residents were feeling. I believe Councillor Kretsch has 6 sites within his own ward, which is significant. Mayor Preston has 2 sites in the city with another one on the way. And they are strong advocates for the work that you do. So first off, I want to say thanks for making last minute accommodations to allow us to see, because we basically didn't tell you we were coming until the very last minute. In fact, the one of 2 sites that we saw in Hamilton, Councillor Kilner came along. We went together, and we saw the high acuity site with minutes notice. Literally, it was not on. We were not planning on seeing it. We were not planning to see it. We were at another site, and it was suggested maybe we'd want to go visit and speak to staff there. So basically, showed up unannounced to the high acuity site. And one of the things that I learned there, besides the fact that we spoke to neighbors, people on the streets, businesses, and surrounding areas, all to gauge good, bad, indifferent, right? Nothing's perfect. We heard some pretty raw stuff. But one of the things I really wanted to drill down on this specifically, because I think this was a critical learning opportunity for me when I was there.
Councillor, I'm going to ask you if you have a question.
Yes, I do. And this is where I'm about to ask it. When I was there, I learned that residents, especially in high acuity sites, are hard to get back out of their rooms once they find safety in having their own accommodations. Right, so they've lived on the street, and now to engage them, to bring them out into programming, is now the challenge. They don't want to go outside. They don't want to roam around. They're feeling safe in their units. That's what I heard from a staff member. Can you please comment on that in regards to the high acuity sites and the sites in general, what that's like to work with folks?
Sure. I mentioned many of our referrals do come from the by names list. Individuals transitioning from that high state of acuity are vulnerable, and they are looking for a safe place in which they belong, and they find that through the connections of our staff team. and through having access to their own apartment. The work of our staff, which consists of addiction support, nursing staff, housing support, food security, and psychosocial, is really to go from that state of survival, that state of precarity, to that state of stabilization. We know that the opposite of addiction is connection, and we know the many who are being housed have been ostracized, stigmatized, and stereotyped for the greater portion of their lives. And so the work of our staff is to break down those barriers and to invite them not just to be in a safe place, but to engage in the community in which we will establish, and then further the external community in which they are very much a part of. It is those intense wraparound services that offer opportunity for that level of engagement. I trust you, now I'm willing to trust you and whoever else you recommend that I trust. We offer a number of different programs through that interdisciplinary staffing complement that ranges from recreation social activities to one hot meal a day to life skill building, as well as other therapeutic programming. And so those are just a few ways in which we would help individuals transition.
Got a question from Councillor Dennis, then Councillor Danneberg, and Councillor McRoberts.
Thank you very much. Ma'am, question for you. These patients, if you, or tenants that you are representing, these people, correct me if I'm wrong, there's a lot of misinformation out there. From what I understand, they cannot get removed from the residence. They're there for a minimum, or I'm sorry, they're there for 30 years, or they can be. They cannot be evicted. A lot of them have had a criminal history. A lot of them, I think it's probably fair to say that you don't live anywhere close to these facilities. You can understand the animosity or the concerns of the neighbors. A place like this affects their property values. A place like this, like these people aren't going to be living in this place 24/7. They're going to be out roaming the streets. And these people, I'm sure a lot of them have criminal records, and these people are going to be looking, I'm sure they have records of theft and burglary and such, that sort of thing. That George Street area is a beautiful area. It's surrounded by some very, very lovely homes. These people are concerned that these people are going to break into their homes and steal and do all sorts of things. There's no question their properties are going to take a financial hit. There's young ones out there. They could run into needles on the street. They could they're good, decent people, and I don't blame them. They work hard for their houses, and it's their biggest investment. And when something like this comes along, it's going to make their homes difficult to sell, and they're going to have to sell them at a reduced price in order to get rid of them. And it's only human nature. And no one's saying that your operation doesn't do good work, but they're just, most of them are saying it shouldn't be held in a municipal, in a residential area. That's what it comes down to. Like a number of residents have visited your facility in St. Thomas, and after hours, it wasn't a surprise trip. And what did they find? They found street fights going on. They found all sorts of things that you would expect. And there was a fire at your.
Councillor Dennis, do you have a question for the delegation?
There was a fire at your St. Thomas location not too long ago, and it was started by one of your former residents. I know you're trying to sell it as a utopian place. It's not. You're dealing with some real dangerous people, and this should have been disclosed. It should have been made aware. And these people aren't NIMBY people. They're reasonable people. They work hard.
Councillor, do you have a question for the delegate?
My question is Well, yeah, yes, as a matter of fact, I do. Are you aware that in Queen's Park right now, that Ontario has proposed a landlord drug liability law? The legislation would make landlords responsible for preventing drugs and these types of units. It's not law yet, but it's coming. And are you aware of that?
Through you, Your Worship. Yes, we are aware. Indwell is very attuned to new policies, acts that impact our services, and we respond accordingly to those. As you've highlighted, that bill has not yet been endorsed.
No, but it most likely it will be.
And just like our other policies, we would respond and adjust as required as a landlord.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Vandenberg and Councillor McRoberts. Questions?
Thank you, Your Worship. So in your presentation, you indicated that zoning does not obligate us to do it, and you're asking us to trust you. And so I'm just going to read back from your CEO, Jeff Nevin, who indicated, it is unfortunate it was not possible to provide the community with advance notice about Indwell's intent to develop an affordable supportive housing project on the site. However, this does not negate the fact that there was no legal requirement to do so. Whether or not there was a legal requirement, I think there's an obligation on Indwell to consult with the people in this room and the people in that neighborhood. You had a session, I think, in June at the Lockheed Kiwanis session, and it was a drop-in session. I think as well as everybody else, thought that there was going to be an information session where there was going to be a group of panelists who were going to engage with us, and we were going to be able to ask questions. There was not anything like that at all. It was just simply a bunch of people in a room handing out pamphlets. So again, there's no public consultation. My request, and I want to ask you this, is why, if you knew this was coming down, we met in April at Vision Nursing Home, and you told us about Indwell. I had no idea this was coming down the pipe at all. If this was coming down the pipe, that would have been great. You engaged with the public, and then you could have heard from them. Why was there no public consultation?
Can you speak to that? I mean, that's really the County of Lambton's responsibility.
That's correct. Through County of Lambton bylaws, it enabled us to do so.
Yeah, but there's a moral obligation to the folks in this room to consult with them. They live in this neighborhood. They've spent millions, as Councillor Dennis indicated, those are all brand new homes in there. That's the former hospital site. Skyline has just spent $17 or $19 million for new 4-story apartments in there. Bright Street, all these new homes being built. We're talking about the renaissance of the Mitten Village. And we're talking about all these wonderful things, and yet Indwell just comes blowing in the door and says, well, guess what? We're here, and sorry, folks. Well, that's not the way we should be doing business. And I think the obligation is on Indwell to say we need to talk to the people in a straight manner and relate to them what you were planning to do. Not now. Right now, we're just closing the barn door after the horse is gone. So.
And Councillor, the responsibility goes back to the County of Lambton. And as far as I know, they followed all the rules that they were supposed to do, and that's why you led up to that session that you had. And yes, there were different interpretations of that, but it's really the county's, their portfolio, it's their mandate, and you're just part of that approach, correct?
That's correct. My understanding is that we would be in breach if we were to go against county council bylaws. And that's why I highlighted as soon as we were able to engage, we did. The intention, and I mentioned we've done a number of community consultation events over the course of the years as we've launched new projects. The method in which we applied here in Sarnia has been deemed the most effective. When we do a presentation and allow for open Q&A, we often hear that not everybody gets their questions answered, which is why we brought several other Indwell staff from across the organization to be able to meet the needs of all those who attended.
Got Councillor McRoberts, Councillor Dennis, Councillor Gillis.
Thank you through the chair. Thank you to Indwell for being the only entity that's trying to manage this housing properly. On the other side, well, considering there's nothing else and no other game, you're the only one stepping up. And then we have communities that no community wants it to be in their space. So we've got polar opposites, but what we have currently is these folks are everywhere. They're in everybody's backyard. There is theft. There are needles. There are all of these things happening. And if we keep shooting down every opportunity to do something about it, housing is kind of falling under the county, and Ontario is supposed to look after the health side of things. So my question is, one, Councillor Dennis brought up, they are not staying there for 30 years and can never be removed. I went to the St. Thomas site, and the folks that were inside, not so much an issue. The 4 housing apartments that were across the street were a zoo. I don't know who owns those properties, but those folks were having a real tough time. I spoke to local neighbors going 2 blocks either way, and they said it's really cleaned up in the last 2 years. Not to say there's not still issues, but it is better, and they know who they're dealing with more so. So can they, number one, stay for 30 years, as Councillor Dennis implied? And number 2, please do not put another site anywhere in the south end of this city. And let's get together, and for the next 2 sites that are coming, we have the conversations.
So through you to speak about the length in which someone can stay housed with us. There are no preconditions as to how long someone can stay with us. As we mentioned, individuals being referred are coming to us from a state of survival and high precarity, and so we are looking to support them on their journey through independent service plans. Those service plans may have individuals aspire to moving back into community and independent housing, and for others it's to maintain a level of stabilization which requires the level of support that we would provide there.
Okay, I've got Councillor Dennis, Councillor Gillis. Questions?
And I'd just like to remind everybody, I brought forth a reconsideration motion at the county, and no one supported me other than myself, of course. But what really irks me is this is playing right into the county's
Councillor Dennis, this is the question period of the meeting. If you have questions for the delegate, we'll be dealing with the issue later in the meeting.
Mayor Bradley, I'll ask you this question then. Why as mayor of this city, would you allow this stuff in our city when this stuff clearly hurts our city? When people wanting to invest in Sarnia have no faith in our government, they're more likely to move out of the city then. I've already had a ton of people, I wish I still had my real estate license, because I've had a ton of people say to me, you know what, why should I stay in this city?
Councillor Dennis, your question to the speaker.
Ma'am, what your Inwell is doing, and in large part because the county sends all this crap to Sarnia, is we are going to have people in our community move out of this city and move to other communities that aren't taking this stuff, and that's the and I can pretty much bet the farm that someone like yourself, I don't know if you live in Sarnia or not, but I can guarantee you that you would not, and I wouldn't blame you for 1 minute. I would guarantee you that you would not want to live beside a facility like this. It's human nature. I guarantee it. So we can't blame the neighbors on George Street, because I don't blame them.
Councillor Dennis, I'm going to ask you one more time. We are not in the debate part of this meeting. We are in the questioning part where people are making their presentations, and we have a lengthy list of other people to come. This is the time to ask questions, and we will deal with this issue later. I beg your pardon?
This is a very serious issue, sir. Come on, this is a very serious issue. You may not think it's serious because you live in an apartment. This is a very serious. This is a very serious issue.
You were already warned in the in-camera. You've been warned repeatedly about having respect for council.
I was not warned in the in-camera.
You've been warned repeatedly about your behavior and just respecting the process here.
You know
please
what?
ask your questions. I've got other
pretty close.
councillors that want to ask questions, and then we'll deal with your motions later. Okay, I've got Councillor Gillis. Question.
Thank you, Your Worship. Coming back, Ms. Thermer, with regard to Indwell, and the fact that it has various models, shall we say, of the housing that you provide. And one of them is affordable housing, as I understand it. And it has come to my attention that at the county report that was first brought forward by Indwell, George Street was identified to be an affordable housing complex, not a supportive housing complex. And at that time, when people were paying attention, this is what people thought it was going to be. And people that I had spoken to were welcoming that opportunity because they saw it as a very positive thing coming into their neighborhood, particularly when this neighborhood has been under duress for quite a while, and it has now on the road to recovery, and we certainly don't want to see it go back. So all of a sudden, the report in 2025 coming to the county identifies this site for supportive housing, which is not what the people of the community were told a year ago. So you can understand from that why people are confused, upset, angry. We took a lot of effort to get that community back to where it is right now. So my question is to you, given the fact that Indwell came to the county in 2024 and said that they were going to build affordable housing at that site, will you commit to your 2024 promise to the community to build affordable housing on George Street?
Through you, my understanding is that report was brought forward through Flourish, which would have highlighted several properties that could be used for affordable and supportive housing. So a few points to that. One is supportive housing needs to be deeply affordable for individuals. The other piece is we know that there are several projects that need to be opened within the community in order to really address the acute needs that are seen. And so prioritization of projects would be based on the opportunity for which project could be opened first. And George Street became an opportunity in which we could seize on that.
So a follow-up, if I may, then you have changed your priorities, but the needs of the community have not changed when it comes to affordable housing, and a good place to put that affordable housing to be successful is George Street. So I have a little bit of confusion in my own mind in trying to reach some understanding of where you're coming from. But that's all I have to say at this point in time.
Thank you.
If I could respond to that as well. Indwell does offer a spectrum of supportive housing that ranges from what we call enhanced, which is that tight wraparound support services, all the way through to what we refer to as a standard apartment program. The challenge is if we open with a standard apartment program, we know the referrals to that program will still be of higher acuity individuals, and we will not have the support team in place to support them well. And so the first project, whether that ends up being George Street or another opportunity that may come up beforehand, does really need to focus on the enhanced model in which Indwell delivers.
So let me ask you my final question, Your Worship, and I appreciate your indulgence. We have a pilot project coming in. We have been awarded the HART Hub. The HART Hub has a specific criteria that you are addressing. Now, obviously, we didn't get this pilot project at the same time that you came into town and we're touting yours. But it does speak to just the very issue that you're talking about. And I see Indwell following along in the steps that are already laid out with right now, and the first speaker that didn't come was the Bluewater Health Transitional Recovery Beds program, where you have acute withdrawal management being step 1, Ryan's House stabilization being 2, the transition recovery beds, a 30-bed facility offering structured recovery for up to 18 months post-withdrawal. So I envision that Indwell could be the last stage, which is, and could be, affordable housing. It speaks to everything that you're already suggesting. So I ask you again, I ask you again to have Indwell go back to the 2024 project as it was intended, because we have received a new pilot project that's going to address what you want to do. What we need right now in the George Street area is affordable housing. HART Hub is going to cover off the other. It's not going to be 100%, but it will cover off what you are trying to do. So I put that to you. I don't expect an answer. I just put that to you.
If I may, your mayor, Indwell is an active partner in the HART Hub project and initiative, and we're very excited to do so. We also are very adamant about working at a systematic approach. And so I have, through our meetings at the HART Hub initiative, requested whether or not individuals that are coming through that pilot project be identified on the by names waitlist, so that we are prioritizing those who have gone through that recovery process, so that, again, we are working as a system with community partners. And so your vision is one that I share.
I've got Councillor Dennis and then Councillor White, then I'm going to move to the next delegation. Please go ahead, Councillor Dennis.
Thank you, Mayor Bradley. Councillor Gillis has an excellent idea. Unfortunately, I don't think it would be something that the county would get behind, unfortunately, because of a recent change. At a meeting not too long ago, Councillor McRoberts passed a motion that any project that the county does has to have a supportive element to it. So, for example, an affordable housing project that maybe was proposed not too long ago now has to have a supportive element to it. And it was it wasn't unanimous, but it got a pretty good. I voted against it, but I believe all the Sarnia members voted in favor of it. So I think from the county's point of view, every single project that attaches their name to it going forward has to have a supportive element to it. That's just the way the county is going for it now. Maybe if Council McRoberts wants to, I certainly don't want to misquote her or say something that isn't true. But that's I believe that's the new rules with respect to the county.
Councillor McRoberts, that is not what County Council passed.
That is not, and that was not my motion.
All right, well, thank you very much. I've got one last speaker. I'm sorry, Councillor White, go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to give you one opportunity. I think there was a sort of a general spattering of thoughts and this collection of ideas that have been raised to all of us over the last number of weeks, and I think it's fair that they were projected forward in this conversation, and they didn't necessarily all get framed into a direct question to you specifically. Again, and again, if I may reframe a question that was asked and answered, residents are not entitled to live permanently. There are rules in which they can, if they're not following, they can be removed from Indwell sites, I believe, so correct me on that one. And secondly, the general overall safety, again, it's of great concern to the community in the surrounding areas. I believe the police, the specialized teams like we have here, MHART, we have teams that would, similarly to St. Thomas and Hamilton, I presume, as part of that partnership, would attend proactively to the apartments on a daily basis, several times a day is what I understand happens, as community partners, as caregivers, as proactive members of the community to build relationships. So I just want you to speak to the safety, the partnerships, and again, whether or not folks can be removed from Indwell should they not be following guidelines.
For you. In terms of individuals within our housing, we do operate an occupancy agreement, which is exempt from the RTA, which allows us to move very quickly should we need to regarding a person's ongoing tenancy. In terms of partnerships, we do uphold our partnerships with all services, including police and fire services, very closely. I mentioned some of the police stats from St. Thomas. That is because we have a deep-rooted connection with them. Just a few weeks ago, I was part of a presentation with SEPTED Canada. SEPTED is crime prevention through environmental design, in which Indwell shares its model of housing because it is so intentional regarding those factors. And there was a local police officer from one of these teams, and we were able to connect afterwards and look forward to fostering those same connections and partnerships here in Sarnia.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Last speaker is Kelly O'Connor Bachelet related to this, and then I'm going to give some direction to council.
Hi, my name is Kelly O'Connor. I live on Essex Street here in Sarnia in the George Street neighborhood. I'm here to speak about the Indwell project as a private citizen. But more than 200 lawn signs displayed in my neighborhood and hundreds of names on a petition would indicate that many more people share my opinion. Before I begin, I just want to state that I am not here to question whether Indwell itself is bad or good. They certainly have a professional sales team that presents all kinds of promises that I could challenge with evidence, and they have lots of supporters, including some councillors here today. But they also have a large number of critics. I imagine, as they say, somewhere in the middle lies the truth. So I'm standing here before you today only to voice my support for Councillor George Vandenberg's motion, which will be presented at this meeting. His motion will finally give a voice to the people who live and work around the proposed Indwell project on George Street. Our neighborhood found out that we were being forced for a second time to accept a supportive housing facility for the hard to house by way of media announcements or little postcards thrown on our porch after the decision was made. Info sessions that took place throughout the community for the last couple years, my husband and I attended, they did not target any specific neighborhoods. That's not collaboration and community engagement. The open house that they had at Lochiel was an opportunity for Indwell to tell us how wonderful they are. It was not an opportunity for collaboration or community engagement. From my standpoint, County Council made this decision without due diligence because the stakeholders who will be directly affected by this were not consulted. The county's decision was not made with informed consent. It was made behind closed doors, based on limited information received only from the developer. We don't expect city or county councils to consult the public on every decision they make. We elected councillors to make decisions on our behalf. However, in some situations, the effect of a decision is so consequential that public consultation is warranted. And this is one such situation. County Council, which includes 4 city councillors as well as our mayor, didn't judge that a project of this magnitude warranted public consultation. I disagree. The Indwell project on Victoria Street had public consultation. The Indwell project on Cathcart Street will have public consultation, but the George Street neighborhood did not. The homeowners, renters, developers, landlords, businesses, doctors that surround this project were deemed unworthy of consultation. As it stands now, our neighborhood's only opportunity to speak might only happen if zoning relief is needed, and only if it's major enough to warrant public input. Since no building application has been received by the city, we don't know if this will be the case. And once it is received, if no relief is needed, our neighborhood will never have an opportunity to provide our perspective. Besides the disparity of treating one neighborhood differently from others, Why is this so outrageous? It's because the George Street neighborhood already hosts a solution to homelessness. The River City Vineyard, or Sanctuary, is an organization that City Council fought against 19 years ago because they didn't agree with its presence in our residential neighborhood. At that time, and up until recently, the Sanctuary allowed active substance abuse. The collateral damage done to the neighborhood by this situation during those years, especially after its expansion, is well documented. Recently, the Vineyard Sanctuary became drug-free. This dramatic shift in their mandate came about because they had safety issues and were concerned about their staff, not the neighborhood. Now, because of this shift, however, the George Street neighborhood is finally experiencing a reprieve. The Sanctuary is now housing 70 individuals who are trying to stay clean from substance abuse. Indwell's proposal is not what we know as affordable housing. It is enhanced supportive housing. This plan is to gather 50 individuals from all over the county and the city and concentrate them in a 50-unit apartment building in our neighborhood. According to Indwell's own proposal to the county, the tenants will consist of our most afflicted fellow citizens who have issues with active substance abuse, severe untreated mental illness, a history of criminal behavior, or a combination of all of the above. Further, it's not going to be a prison. It will not be a locked ward. Just like any apartment building, the tenants will be free to come and go as they please at all hours of the day and night. They will be free to invite as guests whomever they choose. If the tenants are disruptive or even abusive to fellow tenants or staff, they will be very difficult to evict under the Residential Tenancy Act. These are people whose afflictions are so severe that they cannot be served by any other county housing assistance program. They are people you would typically find living in encampments, in the bushes, or in bad weather in an emergency shelter. I've even heard, and I've heard it again today, some promoters of the Indwell project state that it's unfair to compare, oh no, not this one, the Vineyard Sanctuary to what Indwell is planning. One is professionally managed, the other is not. However, what is important in this discussion is not what goes on inside each building. What is important is what goes on outside in the hosting neighborhood. No supportive housing institution, no matter how professionally run, has control over the behavior of their tenants when they are off property and circulating throughout the surrounding neighborhood. So any suggestion that if we truly understood how Indwell operates, that all our apprehensions would be pacified is patronizing at best and insulting to our intelligence and our lived experience at worst. This is a bomb being dropped on our neighborhood without consultation. Is it fair? Is it just? Is it reasonable to force us to host another such institution for the hard to house without asking us for our perspective? I'm asking you, our city council, simply give us back the right that was taken away by county council. I'm not asking council to make a preemptive decision to block the Indwell project without ever having seen a building proposal. I'm asking council to instruct city staff simply to postpone granting any approvals until the neighborhood is given the right to participate in this discussion. And by consultation, I'm not talking about city staff soliciting ideas on Speak Up Sarnia. The potential consequences at stake justify an actual public consultation with an opportunity for delegates to speak directly to all city councilors. If you in any way believe that Indwell's model of supportive housing might be part of the solution to the hard-to-house crisis we are experiencing in Sarnia, then you need to take this opportunity to diffuse the anger of a neighborhood whose voice has been silenced by the county. The families of my neighborhood have the right to present their perspective and state their opinion, both for and against. The opportunity is all I'm asking for today. We have the right to have our voices heard on something that will affect our safety, our property value, and our well-being. And Indwell is looking for 3 additional property sites. Anyone here today who lives in any other area of the city needs to realize that your neighborhood could be next. Again, this is not affordable housing as we know it. You shouldn't find out after the fact that Endwell is forcing itself into your neighborhood without your consent. Finally, let's recognize that the decision makers for this project all live somewhere else. But the families of the George Street community are the ones who will live with this institution for decades. We are asking, as taxpayers and citizens of this city, to be given the same rights as other areas of the city were when it comes to Endwell projects that are being currently planned. Please do the right thing. Support Councillor Vandenberg's motion to postpone any required approvals until the neighborhood and all stakeholders can participate in a public consultation before council. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's the end of the planned speakers on this issue. My suggestion to council would be this. We've got still delegates to hear. We still have a heavy agenda, but we deal with the 2 notices of motion right now while people are still here, so they don't have to wait for an hour or 2. So with that, I'm going to move to that part of the notices of motion. I will come back to the other delegation right after that. So I'm moving to the first notice of motion, Councillor Dennis. I guess seconded by who? Councillor Vandenberg? Move that motion seconded. Councillor Dennis, you're moving that motion.
Thank you, Mayor Bradley. My motion is as follows. Given the lack of disclosure to the public and the outrage expressed by the neighborhood who are not communicated with, that the city of Sarnia shall not grant any variance, zoning, or other municipal approvals, minor or otherwise, sought by Endwell for the George Street project in order to protect the neighborhood from further negative impacts due to supportive housing in their community. Most of our George Street and surrounding neighborhoods feel we have betrayed them. Furthermore, many feel a backroom deal was done on purpose to avoid having to consult with the neighbors. I don't believe myself or most are against housing for the truly homeless. What people are against is providing paid for flop houses for people with severe drug addictions to do their drugs in established neighborhoods. We have already saw the impact of such at the Laurel Lee Church area. That is why this council turned down the drug supporting house in that area. This council now needs to support the George Street neighbors in the same manner in which we supported the Laurel Lee neighbors. This neighborhood should not have to bear the rampant lawlessness, public defecation, open drug use, and criminal activity that both the Laurel Lee and Rainbow Park neighbors have suffered. We owe our citizens better than this. The drug-enabling housing should be put in a location that does not hurt neighborhoods and cripple businesses. Sarnia Council now needs to use the tools which we have at our disposal to stop ghettoizing of these neighborhoods. They have done enough. I find it very telling that Endwell has now sent a request to make my motion invalid, quite frankly. Who do they think they are? They can tell us, tell our city what to do with our citizens. It is very clear that committees of adjustment must adhere to city bylaws and must align with municipal objectives. This committee operates in a framework established by council. We are the ultimate decision makers, not unelected committee members. We need to take our city back. This council is elected by our city's citizens. This committee of adjustments, the committee of adjustments is not. This city needs to send the message to the committee that public consultation matters, that the neighborhood safety is part of our municipal objectives, and that we don't surrender the safety of a neighborhood to an out-of-town party who doesn't even live here. The stories involving Endwell on the internet are something to read. In addition to reading it, I know a few citizens that took a personal road trip to in-well sites in St. Thomas, and it was unscheduled, and it was definitely not positive. Drug addicts, roaming zombies, open drug use and fighting is what they encountered, and when you don't tell them that you're coming. This council needs to protect our citizens, the ones who elected us and are already doing their part. The number one objective of any situation should be safety, and that the neighborhoods do not feel safe with this drug flophouse project. We need to be courageous enough as a council to support our neighbors and send a big message to the planning committee, Inwell, and any else that the safety of our neighborhoods and the voice of our citizens will not be ignored. We need to say no to this location for Inwell and give instruction to the committee that the city will not support this project. We need to not again run scared and panic with a challenge from Inwell, and instead stand tall to protect our neighborhoods. We need to be the voice for the people in this neighborhood and who have not been given a voice. Thank you.
Any other comments before I call the question? Councillor Kilner. I will be recording these votes for the record, Councillor Kilner, then I'll call the question.
Thanks, Mayor Bradley. While I believe in consultation, I do not believe in the erosion of democracy, removing people's ability to come to City Hall and propose things and have them preemptively dismissed before any application has been made, which is what this does. This actually, from my reading, is the essence of discrimination. So I'm incredibly opposed to it because I do not think that anybody should be able to have any possible future proposals dismissed before they're even made. That's what it looks like to me, so I will not be voting in favor.
I got Councillor Gillis, I got Councillor McRoberts, and I'll call the question. And Councillor Burrell.
I'm just looking at both of the motions that are before us today, and they're very similar in the outcome of what they're trying to do. Two different ways of approaching the same issue, but similar outcomes. Is there not some way that we can come to some meeting of the minds on these motions so that we can give the direction I think that everyone wants to do?
Well, the motions are brought forward. We deal with them as a council, and I would suggest that you know this one is illegal, that it's asking us to break the law.
It's not legal. It's not legal.
All right. Advice we've received legally that we cannot tell any developer, any business, any individual, they cannot come to council on a planning issue. It's that simple. So I've got, it's up to you what you want to do with it. You've got two motions. I would say they are different motions in the sense of the
Mayor
outcomes.
Bradley, can I say something?
Councillor McRoberts, you're next, and Councillor Burrell.
I understand where both councillors are coming from, but I will not be voting for this one, but I will support Councillor Vandenberg's.
Thank you, Councillor Burrell.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, we have to follow the laws that we operate under, and it's we have to listen if someone makes an application on a piece of property for an amendment to what is allowed. We are required by law to give them a fair hearing, and to say we won't is just not, well, it's not fair ball as a minimum, but it's illegal because they have that right. Like, we all have different rights, and one of the rights people have is to come to their city council and to ask for changes to their property. In theory, anybody who owns a piece of property can say they want to build a magnificent stadium on a small lot. You have the right to ask. It obviously wouldn't be approved, but you can ask, and that's part of our system, as the people have the right to come to council and ask for amendments to their property zoning if and when they feel that it is necessary for what they want to do. So and if people then appealed them to the court would automatically almost give them what they asked for because we haven't not given them a fair hearing. And so I will not be supporting this motion to preempt. And additionally, there is the part about the Committee of Adjustment. They are another legislated part of the municipal system. Once we appoint people to that committee, we do not have a right to change what they come up with. It can be appealed to different tribunals, but the city of Sarnia is not one of those groups that can change what they come up with.
I'm going to call the question and record the vote.
Mayor Bradley, could I add something? If this fails, I would ask that if Inwell comes to the city of Sarnia with an application, that we hear it rather than the Committee of Adjustments. The council hears it rather than the Committee of Adjustments.
I can take that when we do actually receive an application. We have not got an application.
Okay, in the event that Inwell brings an application to the city of Sarnia, that city council is presented with the application, and we decide the application, not the Committee of Adjustments.
Well, that'll be up to planning to decide is it a Committee of Adjustment hearing or a planning hearing. When that happens, then we can deal with it accordingly. So I'm going to call the question.
Your worship, is there another motion going to be made? Are you going to make
I presume after there'll be Councillor Vandenberg's motion, and then I'll take you back to the regular agenda. So let me call the question, the motion that's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Councillor Dennis, Councillor Vandenberg, those opposed. Councillor Gillis, White, Bucci, myself, Burrell, McRoberts, and Kilner. That is defeated. The other motion, Councillor Vandenberg, is yours. Do you have a seconder?
I believe Councillor McRoberts is going to second it.
Councillor McRoberts, thank you. If you could briefly highlight it, and then we'll deal with it, and I'll record the vote too.
That Sarnia Planning postpone any further action with respect to the George Street Indwell project until there has been a full public consultation with all neighbors, stakeholders, and other interested groups or persons. And I'm asking that this not include Speak Up Sarnia.
Can I ask why? I'm just curious.
I personally don't like the way it conducts itself. It gets information from other people, from other sources, from outside of the city, from outside of the province. I've seen different things, and it's.
Well, that's fine.
I think it's more to include the folks that are in this room in the neighborhood as opposed to some of these.
Councillor, can excuse me, these are urgent matters. People are out there right now without shelter. So could I ask if we could have a time frame on this? If it's going to be 90 days after the application is received, 20 days after the application is received? I would suggest. That is fair. You agree to that? Okay, well, let me call the question. All those in favor? Sorry.
Yes, I really don't. I'm not quite sure I understand the motion. It says that Sarnia Planning postpone any further action with respect to the George Street. Well, don't they first have to ask us to do something? I don't know if they've done anything. For example, they at some point would come and get a building permit, but then again, that isn't something council does. That's something that a staff has done, as long as they meet all the criteria. So I'm not quite sure what this is referring to.
Councillor Vandenberg, can you respond?
Sorry, they just say Sarnia Council postpone any further action without saying planning.
I'm trying to follow the logic on this. We don't have an application. When we get an application, it would be delayed 30 days till it's reviewed by council. Would that be the intent?
No, I'm saying we need the public consultation now, and then if there is an application that shows up, you can deal with it at that time. But you say there's no application right now.
That's to the best of my knowledge. There is no application.
But I think we need this public consultation. So.
Yes.
I will say, just an editorial comment, the one party that should be in this room today is the County of Lambton. Yes, there's representation, but they are not here to present why they're advocating this. So anyhow, let me call the question. Those in favor? Councillor Gillis, Councillor McRoberts. Those opposed? That is the rest of us. Okay, so that is defeated. Okay, let's move back to the regular agenda. We have one more delegation. It's a written delegation, and that is to, it's a request, a written request.
They're not happy with this because they don't know what
I
happened.
believe he voted against the motion. Councillor Boucher? How did you vote on that motion? Council, I'm going to call a 2-minute break until people are a bit more restrained, and we'll get back together in 2 minutes. Negative vote. Okay, if I can reassemble council, please, to get back to the agenda. And could I ask the people in the chamber, if you're not staying for the meeting, if you would mind vacating? Okay, thank you, everyone. Okay, if we can resume the meeting, and I'd ask the people in the audience, please, to let us get back to the agenda. What I'm going to do, this is unusual, but there seems to be a concern about the recording of that vote. I will record that vote again on Councillor Vandenberg's motion, just to be clear, and just ask you to read the motion back. One here.
Yeah.
There, okay.
All right, the motion was moved by Councillor Vandenberg, seconded by Councillor McRoberts, that Sarnia Planning postpone any further action with respect to the George Street Indwell project until there has been a full public consultation with all neighbors, stakeholders, and other interested persons. This is not to include Speak Up Sarnia.
Okay, I'll call that Councillor McRoberts.
Through the chair, as the seconder, I'm not sure if the first will agree. Leave off the extra and just say within 30 days we have a public consultation regarding this matter, and leave all the specifics. If they've not filed anything, it's irrelevant at this point. But they want us to hear their voices, so.
Let me record that vote again. We'll do it just to make sure we're correct on this. All those in favor of the motion? That includes myself. That's everyone except Councillor Burrell. Councillor Burrell, you favor or against it? Okay. Then that'll be recorded. Thank you. The motion passed. Okay, thank you. All right, let's go back to the regular agenda. We have a written submission to you asking for some direction on providing some washroom facilities outside the marina during the summer fishing season. It's a written delegation, it's not an in-person delegation. Unless I see some action on this, we will. It is a request from Mr. Nicholas Gardner for a proposed portable washrooms at the Sarnia boat launch. Councillor Burrell?
I would move that this be referred to the people who run the marina and to our staff for a report back.
Seconder? Councillor White. All those in favor? That is done. Thank you. Last presentation is the police chief and the chair of the board, if they'd come forward, please. And our apologies for the delay, but we've had lots of business to do. Thank you, gentlemen. If you'd like to go ahead.
Good afternoon, Your Worship and members of City Council. I want to start by just thanking you for your ongoing support for the new police headquarters. It's been a discussion for some time now, and Council will recall that back in April, you allocated 15 acres of land at the east end of Wellington Street. So we've been working with city staff since that time to look for a preferred site. And today we have a preferred site that we're going to ask for your approval for. But what we want to do first of all is we want to hear from our architects, who will also speak to the feasibility of the site as well. And Chief Derek Davis will introduce our architectural team.
As to as chair, though, I want to make it clear that there's a number of members of council that did not support that direction. You made it sound like it was a universal vote of council.
I acknowledge it wasn't unanimous. When council makes a decision, then it's made, I understand, so we appreciate the support.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce our two architects, John Pepler and Travis Forrest. They both come with an extensive wealth of experience in the construction of police buildings, and as you may be aware, the police building demands are very specific to the needs of police as an emergency service. So with that, I'll turn it over to the architects.
Yes, thank you very much. To Mayor and Council, yes, we've prepared a short presentation to introduce ourselves and to talk about some of the issues surrounding the provision of new police facility for the city of Sarnia. I think you can go to the second slide, please. So just to introduce ourselves, we are a partnership between RPL Architects and Plus VG Architects. We have been collaborating on a number of projects in recent years, most notably an expansion and renovation to the Brantford Police Headquarters, We're also working with a project for the Ontario Provincial Police. I won't belabor this list here, but this shows the projects that we've recently been collaborating with and the individual projects that we've worked on over the years. From RPL's perspective, we've been involved in police facility consulting for about 40 years and have worked with a lot of municipalities of various sizes, but many of them in the order of magnitude of Sarnia. And if you could go to the next slide, please. So we were called in to look at the feasibility and rationale for providing adequate facilities for the police to meet their needs going forward. The existing 40-year facility is both outdated and outgrown. The service and the city of Sarnia have grown significantly since the time this was designed and built. It no longer meets operational needs. Policing has changed a lot in the last 40 years, both in terms of processes, the way they interact with the community and community partnerships, the impact of training, the impact of technology. And all of these have resulted in serious space deficiencies and shortcomings in the existing building. The building cannot accommodate any future growth. There's also no room on the site for any sort of reasonable expansion, and a new building solution would be the preferred and likely would be the most cost-effective solution going forward. Next slide, please. So we have taken a very high-level view or look at the size and cost of a police facility to meet the needs of Sarnia going forward. Currently, the Sarnia Police employs about 240 employees. That's both sworn staff and civilian, although that number may fluctuate from time to time. Typically, municipalities and regional municipalities will select a 20 or 25-year planning horizon for buildings like this. So there's room for growth as the community grows and changes and as the organization grows and changes. So we're looking at something around a 1% growth per year in the staffing perspective, because that's what our space is essentially based on, is providing suitable space for the individuals who are likely to be employed by the service in the future. But this is subject to a full and detailed space needs assessment and functional programming exercise, which has not yet been conducted. However, we have been involved in similar sized communities and similar sized police facilities for about 4 decades now, and we would estimate that for the core areas of the building, this is excluding any specialty spaces like a firing range or extensive indoor parking, should be in the range of 300 to 350 square feet per person as a rule of thumb. So that indicates that in round numbers, to accommodate the 288 persons that we're anticipating in the future by the planning horizon, that we need a building somewhere in the range of 94 to 100,000 square feet. When we get into this, we would conduct a series of formalized and detailed interviews with all of the user groups within the organization, as well as taking a high-level view of the community as a whole, its growth, its direction as a community, and in discussions with the police executive and leadership. It's, in our opinion, important to plan for future expansion, because there's likely going to be similar conversations in 20 or 25 years in City Council. We run out of space. What do we do now? Now, I don't believe that that problem will be as serious as it is today, because I think one of the key points to providing any new facilities at this point are to plan for flexibility and to plan for expansion on the site, so that decisions to move forward can be done in a logical and forethought way. We can go to the next slide. But police buildings are expensive. They're complex. They need to be secure and robust, and they need to have a high level of critical business continuity. You can't shut these buildings down. They have to remain operating 24/7, and they have to withstand and be prepared for natural disasters, power outages, community unrest, things like that. This is an important part of maintaining the security and maintaining the operations of the Sarnia Police through unforeseen events. According to the Ontario Building Code, police buildings have to conform to post-disaster requirements, which has an impact on the structural resilience of the building and the systems that are within it. So this adds significantly to the structural costs, for example. The building must have emergency power and redundant systems. We work typically to reduce single points of failure within the electrical and mechanical systems in the building to ensure that business continuity is assured. There's a lot of highly technical areas within the building. The detention facility, for example, is a very specialized space to be able to house arrested persons in safety and according to the legal requirements. We also have spaces for forensic identification, secure exhibit storage, which must meet very stringent storage requirements. We have IT systems that are becoming more and more complex in order to support the systems that the police are using. An example being the introduction by many services of body-worn cameras. There's a need for a high level of both physical and technological security. So this covers everything from access control through a programmable card system, alarms, but also ensuring that the building itself and its systems are designed to protect the people and operations from unwanted events or security breach attempts. Also, unlike many commercial buildings, these buildings are used 24/7. So the materials that are used need to withstand to that high level of use. These are very active buildings, and they're used all the time. Next slide. As I said previously, by adopting a reasonable planning horizon, the new building needs to be planned to accommodate and adapt to the inevitable growth and change that's going to undergo the organization. This could include different policing priorities, increasing community and public safety partnerships, changing technologies such as body-worn cameras. Also, in the last few decades, the legislation requirements for training has increased exponentially, so that needs to be accommodated as well. It's important for all stakeholders, including the City of Sarnia and the Sarnia Police, to optimize this planning horizon. What is the best time frame with which to plan this building? If you have too short a planning horizon, you're going to run out of space almost as soon as you move into it. But at the same time, you don't want to build too much space so that you're paying for empty space that's not being used efficiently in the short term. So optimizing that planning horizon is something that is a very important solution. And just for example, the City of Brantford authorized the addition of a third floor to our expansion to that building to give the organization the opportunity to grow beyond the planning horizon that had been set. In this case, the extra space was distributed throughout the building so that it would become available to the units that need it. But other organizations have proposed building unfinished floor space that could be fitted out in future.
John,
But,
sorry,
on
John,
the
I'm
site-
going to cut
Yep.
in. I just want to be sensitive to our time allocation.
Yeah.
We really want to focus on the specific land parcel. So could you speak to that perhaps for just a moment?
I can, yeah. So let's go to the next slide. So we looked at the 11.7 acre site at London Line, and these two diagrams show at two different scales what a police building would look like on this site. We have chosen what we refer to as a usable area, which does not completely cover some of the wetlands and other areas that would have to be analyzed. But typically, police buildings, about 60% of the program area should be located on the main floor. This is to accommodate public access, vehicle access to detention areas and things like that. So typically, about a building, about 60% of it would be on the main level. So that gives us an idea of what the building footprint should ideally be.
Can you explain
Also
why you,
shown-
sorry, excuse me, can you explain why you went from one location to another? There was no public consultation on the first location, which in turn has created issues with us with the Sarnia Humane Society because they did not want the proximity of the police station to their site. Why did you change from this site to this one?
Worship, if I may, I'll answer the question. After the City Council allocated 15 acres at the east end of Wellington Street, we had several meetings with the city staff to talk about various parcels of land. This particular parcel of land that's north of the Business Research Park and southeast of the Old London Road is land that the city owns but has no development plans for. So our feeling was that it met the requirements for what we needed, but it also wouldn't hamper or disadvantage the city in terms of their future economic interests.
I'll just ask the speaker, the big question from my point of view is really simple. We're a debt-free city. We've worked over 20 years to reduce that debt, which has allowed us to have the money from not paying the bankers to do other things. The original estimate on this was, what, 50 million? What is the estimate today?
The estimate today, which is has been done at a very high level, we are looking at approximately 81 million, and that's based on a need for a building of just over 98,000 square feet. But those space requirements will have to be verified through a formal functional programming station or this functional programming exercise. And with Plus VG, we have looked at current building costs, and we have come up with an estimate of about $821 a square foot as an average cost for a building of this type. So that comes up to a tag of about 81 million. But this is a very high level price, and I can assure you that our two firms will take a cost-focused approach in the design, and including value optimization exercises. And this is something we can talk about further if necessary.
Well, I can make the point of following this across the province. The other police buildings, new ones, are all way over budget, way over beyond the original projections. So I'm making note of what you're saying here today. Any questions before?
If I may, Your Worship, and through Your Worship to all members of council. So the specific issue today is we're asking council about the allocation of this property. What we want to be able to do is move ahead with land development studies to ensure that it actually will work. So that involves consultation with the Ministry of Transportation and so on. The issue of the financial piece is going to hopefully come to council in the budget estimates. So that'll be part of the budgeting process.
Thank you for that information. This will impact on our budget so deeply, and with all the projects this group has wanted to bring forward. We're talking regular, huge tax increase to finance this. request today, as you say correctly, is for the land, so I'll ask council, I'll just thank you if anything further you want to add, and we'll deal with the land request. Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. What is the current square footage of the current building?
I don't have that number at my fingertips, but I believe it's somewhere in the order of 60,000, but I stand to be corrected.
I'm sorry, say it again?
I believe it's somewhere in the order of 60,000, but I stand to be corrected.
That's a pretty basic question. You're recommending a new building, and you don't know the size of the old building and its capabilities?
We are basing the sizes on rules of thumb that we have worked with over the years that provide the appropriate space for functions that are going on within the organization.
Thank you. I've got Councillor White, Councillor Gillis.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, sir, for your presentation, and thank you to Chief and Board Chair Wiersma for being here today. A question in regards to allocating resources. First off, let me just state the obvious. Not all first responders are the same. Everybody has a significantly different skill set and benefit to the community, all extremely important. That said, I'm wondering if there are some synergies to be found, and if there are, and sorry for putting everyone on the spot here. I know we've got two chiefs in the room, and if there's any concerns, I'm very good at putting people through tables or whatever needs to happen. Prefer not to engage in a wrestling match here, but we obviously have various services in the community, EMS and fire. The idea of a training facility here, again, and even if it's only shared space for a parking lot and having to build further on for other amenities, has there been any discussion, or are there any other examples in Canada where we can look to find some savings? Again, that high level estimate, it is just that, I get it. But are there other ways that we can capitalize on space, find some efficiencies for fire, police, maybe EMS, without them being in the room? I apologize. And or utilize that space as well for providing space for other services, whether it's the firing range, etc. But that facility could then be a bit of a revenue generator for the service. So kind of an open-ended question, but if you could encapsulate what I was asking, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, other services have looked at opportunities for cooperation at a site between different emergency services. One of the constraints we have is the available land as part of the report that was given to us. This is the police footprint alone fills this particular space. So if that was something to be looked at, that would have to be a much larger allocation. I'd also say that with all great recognition to our emergency service partners, very different functions. So in terms of training, the fire training is very different from police training, is very different from EMS training. And while you could share a classroom potentially, there's while the red and blue lights all look similar, they're very different functions. So yes, it has been done, but they still operate as independent entities even on a shared campus.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Gillis.
Yes, picking up on that theme, and thank you, Chief. It's been brought to my attention on several occasions that there are other communities that have created something similar to what Councillor White is saying, and they basically have called it a campus. So they utilize more than one feature on there, all to do with emergency services. So that's one thing I think that probably could be explored. Would you agree?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we have looked at that as a possibility. We spoke with Barrie, we spoke with a couple other jurisdictions that have done exactly that. Part of bringing it to this point was the elimination of a couple of different policing models, including a distributed model. So one of the pieces that comes up, I'll just, as an aside, is where does the building have to be, or where does the land have to be? We are not linear dispatched, we're dynamically dispatched, so we can dispatch from wherever available cars are. So there's a number of considerations for police that are different from fire. Fire largely responds from their facility, and Chief, please correct me if I'm speaking out of turn, not my profession, but police very different models. So there may be other location factors in there, but yes, we've spoken to the Barrie Police Chief and asked about some of those questions.
And one other thing, when I was reading over the riveting report of the Corporate Asset Management Plan 2025, in here it talks about the estimated asset replacement cost of Sarnia Police Service as 118 million. So therefore, the architect is saying 81 million. So clearly, there's something wrong with the Sarnia Police Service. It's identified in the asset management plan as being in poor shape. So the consensus between the Sarnia Police Services Board and the engineering department seem to be in lockstep. So the other thing too is this particular option. I wanted to remind council that in 2023 we declared this surplus and therefore was looking for a buyer for it. This is an opportunity for us to utilize property that we are no longer capable of using, but would like to have some sort of service on there or something on there that would occupy that space, but also provide for our assets so that we can prove our assets. And one of the, in the asset management plan, it talked about various types of financing, including borrowing.
Can you tell me, was there any public input on this location?
On this location?
By the police board?
It was all done through staff, so. And the corporate asset management plan is followed with the 2024.
Councillor Dennis, Councillor McRoberts.
Thank you, Mayor Bradley. To the gentleman, needless to say, if eventually we go through go ahead with this and this station is built, you see no more usage for the Lambton Mall facility, the training facility there, I assume. So there'll be some significant savings. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor, that is our understanding, that the lease on the Lambton facility is, there's a time frame to that. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but the lease costs for that facility would be saved if a new training facility was incorporated into the new building.
Sure. And through the mayor to Mr. Wiersma and Chief Davis, there's been some concern, and I know you've heard this from the public, that some people have raised some concern that moving the station down to that particular area. Well, this current station is kind of downtown and closer to central Sarnia, South Sarnia, and they feel that it's ideal, that station is ideally located because that seems to be where a lot of the crime is, or a lot of the calls go, and they think that by locating where you want to locate, it's silly because we're locating further away from the crime. Can you kind of dispel that argument?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Dennis. The police dispatch model is very different from other emergency services. So we are actively always patrolling the neighborhood. We would return to a station for the purpose of refueling, car shift changes, taking prisoners back to the station, but largely the patrol functions are all in the field. In my view, there is no change to how we police a high priority neighborhood. Whether the station's there or not makes little to no difference. What does make a difference is having a modern, effective facility that supports modern police operations, and then we can be more effective in that regard.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I have just one more question, or follow-up, actually. There are some. I've taken multiple tours of the current police station, and there's no question in my mind that that current station is at the end of its lifespan and then some. Although I think there are some people in our community that don't believe that. I know that it might be very, very difficult to do this given the station it's not like a retail store where it has its busy periods and its slow periods. But do you think it would be helpful to arrange tours to have the average citizen go through and like I've been on these tours. I've been through on these tours with my colleagues on council to show the average Sarnia just how much in disrepair our current station is, because I think once they see that, they will leave the station thinking, oh boy, do we ever need a new station? If you understand where I'm getting at.
Through the mayor, we have, it would be problematic to have public tours in an area where there's all kinds of confidential information. That would be very difficult, I think, in a 24/7 police operation. However, we have invited all members of the of council to participate in tours. We have invited all members of the media to participate in tours. So we've been very transparent in regards to what the specific issues are. There's also a number of board reports with facility studies that are available to the public. So none of the things we're talking about here are news. They've all been well put into the public sphere and as part of our strategic planning process, which has been undergone back in 2022 and will be undergone again in the fall of this year.
Councillor McRoberts, you have the last question, then I'm going to look for a motion from council.
Thank you. I have a few questions. First, and I asked last minute for the clerks, I think I sent in an email, what did the first police station cost in Sarnia? What did the second? What did the community feel like? What were those amounts in today's dollars? Were people upset that we were going from a smaller original one to the next? Things are getting worse. I mean, what kind of supply of people breaking the law did we have back then compared to now? That's number one. So how did that reflect on everything else? What did we spend 20 years ago that was that lump sum of money that we had in debt that we fought so hard to pay off? Were those things that we absolutely had to have in the city, and how did the city feel about going that far into debt then? Was it a necessity on what we spent? And the last question is, can we build this in phases? Do we need the parking lot to be paved right away? Can we just get in without the bells and whistles just so we can work and then each year add another level to it so that we're not looking at 91 off the hop, we're looking at something a little more manageable?
If I may, I'll speak to your last question through the mayor to Councillor McRoberts. So the Sarnia Police Service Board approved a phased-in facility, and so the training facility has already been highlighted. That's probably the priority because we are beholden to a lease at this point, so we could build that first. And yes, we see it happening over. We had said initially 3 phases, but of course that's subject to the decision of the architects and the decision of the board, and as I say, this will all have to go through the budgetary process of council as well. I might just also quickly add that back to Councillor Dennis's point about savings, just remind City Council that the asset and the property is owned by the city. So when we vacate the current facility, even though it's not functional for the Sarnia Police Service, it's still a valuable city asset, and certainly the property is, and that would also factor into it, I would think.
I'm going to look for direction from council on a motion. Councillor Boucher. This is on the land request, nothing else.
Yes, that's right.
The only questions I had about the police station was, one, we don't need police stations. What we have is enough. All we have to do is fix it up, spend some money, and we have one. The other ones, the other people who complained to me was, we cannot afford to build it. We don't have the money, enough money to build a station. Those are only the 2 things that I'm meeting the two kinds of people, and they are the only kinds of people that see me quite often, and
Thank you. I am going to look for a motion. Councillor Kellner.
Thanks. Thanks through the mayor to you, Chief, and Chair. I guess at some point we have to ask the question, if we do nothing, at what point will, like the Police Services Act or any of that sort of legislation and or the provincial government come in and have some more direct conversations with us. I mean, I mean, given the presentation of 40-year building, what it's even built of, that's very, very I mean, concrete, it's very difficult to adapt that. But at what point do we get to the point of you get to choose, or eventually the province is going to come in and choose for you? Because I don't know that you can have a non-functioning police service.
Thank you, Councillor Kilner. I would just maybe ask John and Travis to speak to the concept of what's the cost of waiting, because that was very illuminating to us as well. If we kick this down the road, maybe 2, 3, 5 years, we're looking at a much, much more expensive project.
With all respect to that question, these individuals have a very vested interest in this project.
Fair enough. I would just suggest my interest as a taxpayer is that we go the most fiscally responsible course, and I understand that if we wait a year or two, we're looking at much, much higher costs, and so that's why I'm a proponent of this personally.
I'm going to look for a motion. Councillor Gillis.
The recommendation is that Sarnia Police Services Board recommends that the Sarnia City Council set aside the approximate 11.7 acres of land on the north side of the Sarnia Business and Research Park and southeast of the Old London Road for the construction of the new police headquarters.
By Councillor Vandenberg. Any discussion? I'm going to record the vote. Councillor Burrell.
Yes, I am concerned a bit by some of the overall number, of course, but I am a little confused in that the size, if I understand correctly, is going from about roughly 60,000 square feet to about 98, somewhere in there. But they're saying that there's no room in terms of the land, in terms of trying to house other groups that might benefit from that area also. Because, they occupy now, from my calculations anyway, it's about 2 acres. And now they're asking for this, it's almost 12 acres. And the 2 acres, from what I can tell, include the rented land. And now it's going to be almost 12 acres. The size is not doubled, but yet there's no area available for, I don't know, an EMS station or a mutual training station or something. I'm confused by that. And so maybe somebody can enlighten me why we need almost 12 acres when we only had 2. Why would it take up the whole amount to the point that nothing else can be accommodated?
I think I could answer that through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, we looked at this 11.7 acre site, and as I explained, to operate and be designed in the most efficient manner, building will have a certain footprint. Also, to provide the large number of parking spaces that are required for the staff working in the building at shift overlap and fleet vehicles, putting those vehicles on grade is by far the least costly option. We're also not using all of the site. There's a portion of it that has been designated or has been put aside pending further analysis of the wetlands through that area. So we're not at all using any of the 11.7 acres. Also, it would be prudent to allow some space for future horizontal expansion, which is likely to be the least costly approach should the building need to be made larger in future decades. We've also identified a need for a secondary egress for police vehicles so that they're not restricted to entering north onto Old London Road. We can provide a secondary egress through Alexi Drive to ensure that the police can operate should that northern entry ever get compromised, either accidentally or deliberately. So all of these, and providing a suitable open space requirements, stormwater management, these all indicate a need for a larger site. Smaller sites could be made to work, but if this was the site under consideration, I think it's a reasonable size.
If I can add,
You've had any discussions with the MTO?
At this point, no.
I will just forewarn you, on London Line and on Wellington, we've been in constant discussions with land freezes for a couple of years because they would not prevent roads coming in and off major roads like London Line and Wellington. Flag that for you. So, sorry.
That's all part of the future analysis that would be conducted should this site be selected.
Thank you. Chief?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Council and to Councillor Bouchy, I think there's a premise that needs to be clarified here, and that's that the current building is adequate. We can't drive prisoner vehicles into the Sally Port because they don't fit. We can't safely unload vehicles except in the parking lot. We release people into the staff parking area, essentially. We have inadequate storage for our vehicles that contain weapons and other components that are specific to police. Police vehicles are riddled with technology now. Unlike 1987 when this facility was built, we have no place to shop those technologies when we have to repair, replace, or work on. We have a CID office that's, as you can see from just the call volume in town, that is bursting at the seams. Our identification bureau uses an old Home Depot shower to dry things. It does nowhere near meet the standard of how a modern police service operates. We drive to Chatham to do rifle training, which rifles didn't exist for police in 1987 when it was built, and now they're required by legislation. I would also add, there was an earlier comment by Councillor Kilner, what compels us to be here, and it is specifically the law that compels the board to provide adequate and effective policing. And that's the board's duty under the Community Policing Act, and that's what the board's endeavoring to do.
Hey, as a longtime board chairman, I understand that. Anyone that served on a board understands that. But it's still our determination on what the level of service is and what the cost is to run a police service. This police service has had almost 40% increase in the last 3 to 4 years. And now this mammoth BOA constricted debt will come around every other project we want to fund. That's what we've got to deal with. That's a real concern. So with that, I'm going to call the question and record the vote. It was to move forward on the, and gentlemen, stand down, it's fine, thank you. Move, please, Councillor Vandenberg.
Could I just offer a historical perception on this? Because I was there when it was built. So it's like working in a fishbowl. That's all I can tell you. And they deserve better. So
we'll call the question. Those in favor? Councillor Kilner, Councillor McRoberts, Councillor Gillis, Vandenberg, and White. Those opposed?
You didn't get me, Mayor Bradley.
All right, I'm just calling the vote here. Are you voting, Councillor Dennis?
You're damn right I'm voting. I vote in favor.
Okay, well, that's fine. You're recorded. Who else is voting in favor? I want to make sure I got this clear this time. Got Councillor McRoberts, Kilner, Gillis, Vandenberg, and White. Those opposed, myself, Councillor Burrell, and Councillor Bouchy. So thank you. Okay, Councillor, we move ahead. I've got a 4 o'clock phone call with a minister from Ontario, so I've got to take. Let's see how far we can go into the agenda. If we can move forward with the, back to the regular agenda with the advisory committee recommended terms of reference. Councillor White seconding that. All those in favor? We're on the regular agenda. We're back. I'm sorry, it's very confusing, and I can tell you, we need to have a discussion internal about these agendas. I don't know about you. They are incredibly difficult to follow and to run a meeting. And I see that on your faces too, so I apologize, but we will fix the problem. So we're on item 1, which is the advisory council. That's passed. Let's move to transit route improvements. Councillor White, and these, Councillor Gillis, these have all been vetted. The committees, all those in favor? That is done. As Councillor Gillis indicated, the fascinating corporate management plan is now here.
Yes, I will move that.
Moved it and seconded. I couldn't sleep last night. I can tell you it made a difference. All those in favor? That is done. Now, next one, I come back, the crossing guards. I want to make sure there was consultation. There has been consultation.
Through the Mayor to Council. So our process is we notify the schools and then allow them to contact the parents. We've received, so they've done that. We've received no responses.
Councillor Burrell's moving. Seconder is Councillor White. All in favor? Next one's an important one, the community safety zones. Looking for a motion?
I'll make a motion, but I would want to ask a question.
Sure, go ahead. Who's the
It's
second?
not seconded.
Councillor White, go ahead.
This is something that Mr. Brown has been speaking to. I don't know if he's still on vacation or not here, but there was one area that wasn't covered off in the community safety zone consideration, and it is Cameron Street, and Cameron Street comes right down onto Lockheed Center, and there are a lot of vulnerable people there. And there have been a lot of speeding incidents that have occurred on Cameron Street. So, and it's a very large street. It's beautiful and lovely paving, but now it's a bit of a raceway. So if it's not going to be deemed a community safety zone, is there something else that we can do to provide safety to the people who are actively involved in going to the Lockheed Center and the neighbors in the area?
Through the Mayor to Council, we can report back on that and how it would fit in with this criteria.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
All those in favor? That is done. Next, just to make this as simple as possible, is a report to you on the decision made on the affordable housing building on Melrose. And you've got 2 options to take here. The only thing I'd recommend, if you want to go into negotiations, the 5 that supported this need to be willing, or some of them, to indicate that they are flexible. Otherwise, there's no point going off to negotiations if the 5 that are against the project do not support that. I think we need to be very clear up front without wasting a lot of people's time. If the majority that didn't support the project aren't willing to negotiate any of it, then better just to move straight to the land tribunal. Just want to make sure that's clear. So I'm looking for a motion. All right, Councillor Gillis.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would recommend item number 2, resolution number 2, that Sarnia City Council direct staff to engage in settlement negotiations with the applicant, but if those negotiations are unsuccessful, to proceed to a hearing and defend Council's refusal of the application.
Councillor McRoberts seconding that. Is there any discussion? Councillor Burrell.
Does that not require a reconsideration? Because we already voted.
This is, I guess, the aftermath of that vote and things that the planning staff issue has come up many times when planning staff supported something and then they couldn't testify. That part has to be dealt with. Either we have backup staff for the city's position or we don't. I did not view it as a reconsideration because we've had that meeting, the appeal's been filed, we can't take that back. The only thing we can do is deal with a different, negotiate something and it comes back differently, it would come back to council.
Question. So, Your Worship, when it says settlement negotiation, are we talking about the whole scope of the project, or are we just talking about what we voted against, either yay or nay, or is it a whole change in their scope of their project?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
The way I'm reading this is that if council wants to enter settlement negotiations, they have to be prepared for some changes in the project and what comes back. I guess my point is, if the principle of the size of the building is still there, then those that didn't support it, I don't think that's going to change. If there are going to be other amendments, and I understand, and I think Councillor McRoberts knows this, there may be a dropping of the single-family dwellings for different reasons, so it would be a different project. but the base project, I believe, would still be there. But just know that, don't be surprised if it comes back not much different than what you saw.
Could that also, though, take in the reconfiguration of the building instead of where it's located and where the entrance is now? I do recall during the discussion that Councillor Dennis said that those particular types of apartment buildings are usually facing, would be facing Exmouth, the entrance, as opposed to Melrose. So that's one thing that was a bit of a sticking point as well.
I think the other thing you have to keep in mind, from my memory of the meeting, any compromise, again, I'm editorializing, is not going to satisfy the neighborhood. As council's willing to come back and go through that process of consultation then. So the motion's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Yes, all those in favor. Councillor Kellner, McRoberts, White, and Gillis. Those opposed? Vandenberg and Burrell. I'm willing to give it a shot at negotiations to see if there's some solution there that might be worthy of trying to work. Councillor Dennis? Sorry.
I'm against it.
Yeah, okay, that's noted. Let me call the question. Those in favor? Again. Support that, so that carries with the objections noticed. Councillor Kellner?
I may have missed this, Your Worship, but did we miss?
We're going back to 6.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I jumped over it. That is to extend Wellington Street with the money we're receiving from the Fast Build Fund. Moved by Councillor Gillis, Councillor White. Those in favor? Opposed? Favor? I'll try again. See how this works is, I ask the question and then you vote. All right, let me do it again.
I'm sorry, which one are
We are dealing Wellington Street extension, number 6. Okay, let me try it again. All in favor?
That's the first one.
Yeah. Those opposed? Councillor Vandenberg, are you voting? Okay, all right. Councillor Dennis is against it. Okay, so that motion passed. The next is related to a closure of Harbour Road. Looking for a motion to start the process of at least some land being sold there. Councillor Dennis?
I move the recommendation.
Seconder? Councillor White? Any discussion? Councillor Burrell? Councillor Gillis?
Yes, I am a little confused as to actually what's happening here. Yeah, I understand that there's a part of the road allowance that's would be, I guess, north of the harbor, of that street, so that they want us to sever that off and give it, or make it available to the, primarily the 2 properties that are there. Is that my understanding what's happening?
That is correct.
And what amount of land is that?
Let someone legal respond to that, but I will say most people believed over the years that they own that land. They use it for many, many functions. I think they were paying the city $1 a year or something to use that land. The land right in front.
They sometimes use it for volleyball games and that sort of thing.
So can someone speak to how much land it is?
Through the mayor to council, the exact acreage of this parcel would need to be identified by an Ontario land surveyor in order to come up with the parts that would be transferred as well. My understanding is it is less than an acre that would end up being severed between the 2 properties. Both properties have advised that they would, both property owners have advised that they would like to submit a joint application to council to stop up and close this unopened portion of Harbour Street, and it would be that property would be allocated between the 2 of them depending on the frontage of their properties. Both properties have historically entered into agreements with the city to have a patio or other kind of a license agreement in that front area, permitting them to, among other things, play volleyball, have a dog patio, or do other activities there as well. And we've generated a very small amount of revenue in that respect.
So, Councillor Gillis?
Yes, just so we're clear, that particular road allowance, if we sold it to the interested parties, sold it to the interested parties for what they have proposed for it, I think we still need to maintain at least 25 feet for sidewalks and undergrounds. Is that not accurate? So this picture that's looking like this vast expanse of lawn is really not what we're talking about at all.
Through the mayor to council, we would identify a portion to be retained by the city for various infrastructure or sidewalks or something like that. It could be negotiated with the developer in that respect as well. Whether they are responsible for building a sidewalk or the city is, it would go into those negotiations.
And one other question, it might be redundant, but does this impact our heavy haul corridor availability for bringing in large items, particularly down to the government dock?
The actual heavy haul corridor actually.
I know it's on Exmouth. I know it tees off.
And it ends at C-Star,
Yeah.
the dock there.
But we also have the government dock and warehouse just beyond, like on Seaway Road.
My understanding, Councillor, is that really nothing changes as it relates to the traffic on that road. It's what it was and it's what it's going to be.
Okay, if that's what it's going to be, I'm for it, but I'll let you know.
Those in favor? Those opposed? Do that one more time. Those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. Moving back to the agenda again. There was an email late yesterday or today about North Perry Park with some suggestions. I believe Ms. Forfar, you've responded to it. You'll engage in that discussion?
Yes.
Okay. Can we get an endorsement on this plan to move it forward? The North Perry Park plan, in principle, you're not committing to it, just moving it forward. Councillor Gillis?
Yes, and does that take in the discussion about the football field?
Yes, that will, there will be some discussion on that.
Yes, I will present.
Second to Councillor Kellner. Councillor Burrell?
Yes, yeah, my sort of question is, like, what all, are we trying to put too much into this park? Like, or there was some consideration in some of the information we got that perhaps if we left the soccer out of it, it might be better for the rugby and football and parking and all that good stuff, that maybe we're trying to shoehorn in too many things?
For your worship, to members of council, there's been an extensive ongoing consultation process with our major user groups and the public with this park plan. The site is what it is. There wasn't a consideration to move it. What at this point in time, what the conceptual plan before council can demonstrate that we can fit things on there. There may have to be some give and some take through a detailed design process, but in general, we can absolutely meet the needs of our community moving forward through a future design exercise. So it has been a very good process. I would suggest that we are really at the end of this one, and that the next phase is detailed design services, which will again be more consultation and more sort of detailed review with user groups in the community to make sure that we are getting what we need moving forward. But this is just a conceptual plan at this point in time, and we can certainly meet the needs.
Thank you. I'll call the question. Those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. Moving further on, arena allocation policy, which is a timely policy right now. Councillor Gillis, seconder. The arena allocation policy. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is done. Motion related to Bluewater Land Rotary and a generous donation of $100,000. And as we approve this, we also sent a letter of thanks to them for their contribution. Moved by Councillor White, seconded by Councillor McRoberts. All those in favor? And next is a lease agreement to you related to Queenside Field Airport. White. All those in favor? That's good. This starts the process of making the airport where it should be. Let me just jump you. I hate to do this to you, but there were a couple of items that were added late. Item 10. Another good news story. It's about the Splashwater Park plan for Kenwick Park, and the bid came in, and with the approval of the donor, we're moving forward on this project. This is number 10. This is on the addendum that you got. Seconder, Councillor White. All those in favor? And realistically, this project is not going to happen till next year. Thank you. Last one is is related to refrigeration at the Passa Center. We need to get this moving. It's number 11. Councillor Gillis, Councillor White, all those in favor? That's done. All right. We move into the notices of no motion. We've dealt with number 1, we've dealt with number 3. So Councillor McRoberts, you have one here for a third dog.
I've received multiple messages from different people regarding their students that come home, or they have a family member that comes to visit for vacation and they're bringing a dog with them, and the people that live in the residence currently have 2. I don't think we should have 3 per property all the time, but this is kind of a tough one. If your student, your college student, your university student has a dog and they're coming home for vacation, they can't house it somewhere else. I mean, that would just be costly and
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Okay, I'm just trying to get my head around this. How would anyone ever know? Like, I just...
complaining neighbors, calling by law. So neighbors that maybe
Okay.
they're barking or whatever, but if they call the city, and there should be a cost just to say, we're bringing a third dog, here's $50 and I'll be leaving by this date.
Okay, another question?
Sure.
You talk about 1 week at Christmas?
1 week at Christmas, because they'll be coming home again at Christmas, and who's
So
counting that?
Dogs don't like Easter?
I don't think, I never came home
I'm
for
just
Easter.
curious.
Yeah.
No, I'm just curious. I'm just trying to understand it.
Not supposed to eat chocolate.
I mean,
so.
if we were all neighborly and just said, our
Okay.
students coming home and they're bringing their dog and we're going to be here for a couple of days, everybody would be just, but we don't have that communication all the time.
That makes more sense. So is the motion understood, Councillor Vandenberg?
I'm just understanding, so if somebody's got a dog, through you, your worship too, got a dog elsewhere in the province of Ontario, they're gonna, obviously gonna have a license on that dog at their municipality, right? Where they're from?
I would hope everybody would have a license on their dog. Yeah, but when they're requesting, they could easily say where they're coming from, and that could be checked. I mean,
I just wondered, do we need to do this? If the dog's already licensed somewhere else and he's just gonna go, he or she is gonna go back to wherever they came from, tell us that, do we need another license just for the summer if that dog is already licensed?
I think if we just get a fee, or not even a fee, just a temp pass. Just a temp pass. It really is, if people call and complain to the city, rightfully they should, because we're not allowed 3 dogs, they can say, call by law. We have a paper that says we're allowed to do this for the summer or the 1 week.
Councillor Burrell?
I sort of following along with what Councillor Vandenberg is talking. Can we not just recognize tags from other communities? As long as like temporary, like if somebody has if they say they go to school in Waterloo and they bring supposedly they would have a tag from Waterloo, and then if they come to Sarnia with their dog, like I've certainly had family members, like relatives or whatever, come to our house and stay a weekend or a week or whatever and bring their dog with them, and never even thought about taking it down to Sarnia to register, because they're at the end of the week, hopefully, they're going back. At the end of the week, you would expect them.
This is only if you have 2 dogs, they're bringing a third.
Let's move the motion. Move on.
Okay, let me call the motion. Those in favor of the motion?
Clarification.
I've got Councillor Dennis, I've got Councillor Burrell, Councillor McRoberts, Councillor Gillis, Vandenberg and White in favor, and Boucher. I'll make it unanimous for the good of the club. All those in favor? Councillor White?
Clarification. Can we make sure that that's just no fee, right? And then if they are from Waterloo, we can call their bylaw and animal control to come and deal with it if there's an issue with that dog. Okay, strike that last part.
Thanks for the advice there. All right, so that is passed. Now we've got 3 resolutions that you pulled forward, Councillor McRoberts, from that pile of resolutions we get every week. The first one was related, you were looking for support, the Canada Disability Benefit. Okay, we've got 3. I've got that one. I've got advocacy for Canadian veterans, and the third one is, that's the addendum.
I would like
If you'd like to move them, and if anyone wants to split them, that's fine. Otherwise, we'll vote on them as a group.
I would like to move all three together.
Okay, is there a seconder? I'm seeing no request to split the questions. They're all strong, good motions. All those in favor? That is done. All right. Help me, Madam Clerk, here. Where are we now? Addendum notices.
Yes.
So, yes, Councillor Gillis, you have the last motion. I should say County Council already has passed a motion on this issue about a month ago.
That's what I thought, but as I spoke to the UNDRIP committee, they simply wanted us to reaffirm basically what the county has done in full support of the Chatham Cant's stance on the Dresden recycling waste.
Yeah, the motion's in order. Councillor Vandenberg seconding. Any discussion?
Like, I am opposed to the way they're doing it in terms of running roughshod over all the environmental requirements. But landfills have to go somewhere, and the problem with this situation is that they're bypassing all the normal regulations that should be there to protect, you know, the neighbors and the water courses and everything else. So I'm kind of mixed on this because I don't necessarily know whether that landfill should go there or not, but I certainly am opposed to the way the province is approaching this, because it's just not the right way to go about it.
And actually, in the preamble, it does talk about the environmental consequences of landfill sites are well documented, ranging from groundwater contamination to air and soil pollution. So it comes back to full and informed and respectful consultation, particularly with Walpole Island, and Chatham Kent. Dresden is in their area, so they are concerned, and therefore I think we should support our neighbors.
Let me call the question. Those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. No, I'm sorry. Well, Councillor Dennis is not on the call. It's unanimous. All right. Without those members. Okay, moving to minutes. Councillor McRoberts.
Mike?
All in favor? Any urgent matters? Any? Keep us moving. Consent agenda? Councillor McRoberts.
Have to, sorry, with the picture and the mural, can we take all of the mayor's framed pictures and move them in here to the chamber?
All the options are being looked at.
Okay, that'd be my.
I will tell you that all the options are being looked at, but the real problem is they are 40, 45 years old. They are in not good in shape. They need to be at least fixed somehow.
Yes, on that same issue, like, I reread the stuff. I don't remember seeing anywhere that was going to be what was going to happen, that they were going to move all of the ones, like all the pictures of the mayors out of there in order to put, I mean, that to me is kind of a lack of full disclosure in terms of what was intended.
Councillor White?
Yeah, thank you. That was not part of the discussion, like part of the motion of the UNDRIP committee. UNDRIP committee does not have any say or really any, authority over that. So in terms of addressing the signage, asking council to endorse the concept of it, was really a budgetary consideration. Where it goes is really a property issue, more of a, so we can have a say obviously, but to your point, it wasn't omitted for any reason other than it was not actually really that group's consideration. When I look at the room, we did talk about it logistically, there's really only one wall there, right? So that it does make it a very difficult room to work with, for sure. There's windows, elevators, customer service, and stairs. That takes up 3 ends of that room, right? 3 sides. So it was acknowledged that it might be tricky, but in that conversation, staff did bring back to the committee exactly what the mayor just indicated, was that when they looked at those photos, the way that they're currently mounted, that they're degrading significantly. They're subject to sunlight. They're not in a position right now where they are that they're actually being preserved. So then the option that was suggested to the committee, again, wasn't part of the motion, wasn't part of any recommendation that the committee made, but they also understood the same as us now that the Historical Society and other groups will be consulted to try and find a way to preserve our history, because it's not about erasing history, it's about finding a way to display it, preserve it, and hopefully satisfy all needs and make that space a little bit more welcoming for others as well. So I believe it was not an omission, it was just not part of that recommendation. They stopped at the welcome signage.
And Councillor White, we checked the record and looked at that meeting. You're quite correct, it wasn't there, but it wasn't an issue at the time. So it'll be dealt with, and there'll be that information be brought back to council, correct?
Your Worship, through the Members' Council, that's correct. As per the memo that I provided to Council, yes, staff will look at other options to see what's available and report back as to the findings.
All right. Anything further, Councillor Gillis, you had something? Okay. Then Councillor McRoberts, move us into the consent.
I move that.
I have something, Mayor Bradley.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you. I was contacted recently by the neighbors in the Rapids Parkway. As you probably remember or know, they've been upset for quite some time, probably 2 years, about the Burger Street entrance to their subdivision, the landscaping. They met not too long ago with Mr. DeGroot, and he's a real nice guy. Obviously, everybody has a lot of respect for Mr. DeGroot. And he came up with some recommendations, and but this has gone on now for 2 years now, and they're very frustrated. The Rapids Parkway is one of the nicest subdivisions in our community, and they're just upset that nothing has taken place. The naturalization that was put there is just an eyesore. Most of them think it's an eyesore, and they're just disillusioned that it's taken this long to correct it. It's just kids with a lawnmower to fix it, and they just don't know why it's taken this long to fix the problem. They're just very, very frustrated. So they came to me and asked that I bring this up at this time. So I'm just doing that.
Ms. Forfar, and also I should say I have neighbors that support what's happening there. This is the strip on Burger when you come off Modeland to the school. Forfar, can you just give us an update?
For your worship to members of council, staff were able to retain, with council support, a superintendent of forestry and horticultural services. Ms. Brianna McLaughlin just joined the city about 2 weeks ago. We are working with her to advance some of these outstanding projects. Her background and expertise is fantastic in terms of being able to actually bring a real naturalization lens here in terms of what we can do. We are looking to kind of reset that project through capital planning this year, and there will be a small ask through budget in terms of moving projects forward. That one, as well as the second phase of the Mike Park project that we considered as well a couple years ago.
Okay, thank you. All right, Councillor McRoberts.
Anyone else? Oh.
I just wanted to ask Ms. Forfar, through you, Your Worship, all these nice trees that we've been planting in the parks over the last couple of years are getting devastated by beetles. Yeah. Do we have a product that can get rid of those things, or because all the nice fruit trees that you've planted in all the North End parks are all just today void of leaves? So
through your worship to members of council, we can certainly take that back. I know our staff have been well aware of some of these pockets of challenges. Again, a pest management program is certainly needed, and with some added expertise and some added oversight with that program, we're very excited the next few years can bring to help address some of these issues that we're facing.
Councillor McRoberts. Consent agenda.
I move that items A through J listed in the consent agenda be introduced.
All in favor? Councillor Burrell.
Yes, item J. Item J is a or sort of report on various residential developments that council has approved, but for some reason have not gone forward or only have partially gone forward. I would have liked if they would have been a little more information on some of these in terms of how many units were supposed to come out of these. Some of them haven't, but for example, the last set, the site plan control group, it says a few things, but it doesn't indicate how many units are sitting there. And I'm just wondering if it's comprehensive, because I thought there was another one, and I'm not sure under what it would fit, but there was a development at the on Murphy, right near, just above Michigan, with the Greek church there was in, and I don't know how far along that is, what that situation is, and maybe there's more information. But I would have liked if they can add, because when you put this all together, these are a lot of units that we have approved, but just for whatever reason, the developers have not pushed them further. And I don't know if maybe staff has more information. They've put down a few words here, but is there anything that we can do as a council or whatever to kind of spur these along?
Through your worship to members of council, at this point in time, any private property applications such as these are in the hands of the applicants. It's what we call an applicant-driven process. So they have received approvals, and now it's up to them to quite literally sell these units. They have to gain financings. They have to clear conditions. Development is a very, very high risk and high reward service area, but it is privately driven. So there are lots of reasons. There's a myriad of reasons why some projects move forward, some do not. Some come in for changes later on. It's quite a dynamic process. The best thing council can do is to consider or continue to support these applicants without sort of interfering in additional extensions or approvals that are required, and allow the market to bring these units online when they are ready.
I can tell you, Councillor Burrell, on that project, I understood it was CMHC and interest rates and not being able to get a package together. Because we approved it. It went to LPAT, it was approved. It was a difficult rezoning, but it happened. But it's CMHC is the issue with them and trying to finance it.
Sorry, the one on
Greek Orthodox Church, yeah.
Sorry?
Greek Orthodox Church property.
Yes.
Yeah, through your worship to members of council, my understanding was this was sort of a response to a number of different questions that occurred at the June meeting. So I think that staff were just trying to sort of rally together those ones. It might be helpful if staff perhaps target a small and short presentation in the fall on the actual online development tool, and we can answer all kinds of different questions about these different projects. It is online, it is available, and I'm happy to walk council through that perhaps in the fall, just to provide some more information. We can alternatively certainly report back with some notes to council on specific projects if they've got them.
Okay. That would be helpful.
Thank you.
Councillor McRoberts, can you move us home?
I move that items A through J listed in the consent agenda as recommended and or approved by this council be adopted.
All those in favor? Bylaws.
I move that bylaws 1 through 5 as printed be introduced and taken and read as the first, second, and third time and finally passed.
All in favor? On adjournment, the plan is to adjourn till September. However, if there's a need for a meeting, I will call a meeting.
I did have one more question on J that I didn't. In terms of developments that are sort of hanging around, a question with regards to, do we have any idea what's happening with the Eaton Center? Because that was going well at one point, but nothing in quite a while. Do we have any information on what's happening there?
I can say this to you without getting into too much detail, that the county has sold the land that Seasons was looking at, and it's to a company outside the community that's looking at doing a development there. And county councillors are familiar with what's happened there. That happened about 2 months ago. I don't think it's been announced. I did ask Ms. Provo if she could contact the company and to find out at some point when they intend to announce their intentions there. It is a positive development for downtown. Take us home.
I move that Sarnia City Council adjourn to its next regular meeting to be held on Monday, September 15th, 2025.
All those in favor?